Welcome to Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse, a podcast exploring cult classic, subculture, and geek media. I'm Nick.
And I'm Dave.
And we will be your tour guides for this deep dive of Steven Spielberg's 2002 dystopian tech noir thriller, Minority Report.
I'm not sure what I expected when I sat down to watch this movie, but I thought I had seen it. I never saw it.
Oh, you've never seen this?
No.
I've never seen it either.
But I like Philip K. Dick.
Uh-huh.
So I figured anything by Philip K. Dick, probably good.
Probably.
Then I saw Tom Cruise was in it, and I was like, ooh, this is probably schlocky.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion of Tom Cruise has kind of come up, I think, over the years. Especially after we did their Interview with the Vampire episode.
That's true. He was pretty killer in that.
Yeah, but I don't know. This movie didn't really land for me. I mean,
it has like a Mission Impossible. Like he's done like the same kind of action stunt movies, like the same scenes over and over again, like helicopters and.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is a running fool. He's always running in every movie.
Yeah,
and he does a bunch of running in this movie, and they even talk about his running in the movie.
Yeah,
like
he's still running.
Yeah, and so it's sort of meta in that way. Yeah. I mean, Spielberg is a reliable director. This is a very well regarded movie,
and Philip K. Dick, reliable like source for content.
Mm-hmm. So. Hypothetically, we should have liked it.
You know, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I did like it.
Okay.
I'm not going to say I loved it.
It improved for me on my second viewing.
Okay.
So I watched it, and then I watched it yesterday when I sat down to take my notes, and I was able to just sort of accept it for its
just for what it is,
and for really appreciate what's great in it, which there is actually a lot of great filmmaking in it.
Sure.
And I kind of isolate the things I don't like and be like, well, I wish they hadn't done this, but overall it comes out still as a good movie.
Yeah, it kind of finds its way.
And it's interesting. So this was originally intended to be a sequel to Total Recall. With the Schwarzenegger, Paul Verhoeven movie from the 90s. And then that kind of fell apart, and then it got readapted, and Spielberg got involved and got Tom Cruise. But the two stories aren't related to each other at all.
Yeah, I can see that.
So other than that, they're short stories written by Philip K. Dick that are in the same collection of short stories. They don't have anything to do with each other, no common characters.
Yeah, I could see them being in the same world, though.
Yeah.
Like, same universe.
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, I think a lot of his sci-fi... I mean, Total Recall and Blade Runner are definitely in the same universe because the Martian colonies are a big deal.
I like it when authors do that. Like, Neil Stephenson does that. Yeah. Like, with... most of his cyberpunk stuff is all set in that same snow crash world.
Also, like with the train, is that the...
No, that's Snowpiercer.
Oh, not okay. Snowpiercer is
to my knowledge, there hasn't been a Neil Stephenson cyberpunk film adaptation. Although I think it would be pretty cool.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. Anyway, so let's just get into this.
Okay.
Let's roll for initiative.
We're sharing the die.
Jet got away with mine. He's a dice rolling fool. Ooh, a 2.
And I got 17. That's me.
All right.
After 25 years. Ash Ketchum has become Pokemon champion.
Oh, I saw that. It didn't make my news, but I should have.
He set out from Pallet Town 25 years ago at 10 years old.
To be the very best.
To be like no one ever was. And he defeated Leon, and he has become the Pokemon World Champion. As far as I could tell, he's still 10 years old.
And he still hasn't upgraded his starter.
No, he still uses Pikachu because Pikachu doesn't want to evolve. That was the whole plot thing.
I know. I remember that one. I still just generally think Raichu cooler.
Yeah, or more useful for fighting like boss level Pokemon.
Yeah.
But anyways, it aired in Japan a couple days ago. The English episode or the English language version has not dropped on Netflix yet.
Oh.
Half the season is on Netflix, but the back half of the season hasn't dropped yet, and there's not a date. But after the world's oldest 10-year-old has finally become the Pokemon champion.
Actually, I think Bart Simpson's the world's oldest 10-year-old.
That's true. Bart Simpson is a much older 10-year-old than Ash Ketchum.
That's such a niche title right there.
Bart Simpson has been 10 years old for so long that when his parents were teenagers has moved 3 decades.
Yeah.
Because it's like now his parents were teenagers in the 90s. And it's like they were, when the show started, somehow they've been pulled forward in time.
Yeah, I remember watching that show when I was 10 years old.
I know. Time's a flat circle.
Yeah. All right, so I got one. I'm going to be the Grim Reaper this time. Okay. Rip Kevin Conroy.
I had that too.
The voice of Batman. He's a Juilliard drama graduate. He studied and worked with Robin Williams. He's a fairly well-renowned and respected thespian just in general, and a legendary voice actor.
Oh, for sure.
And it seemed like everyone had nothing but great things to say about Kevin Conroy. So
yeah,
he'll be missed.
He's seems to be a great person on and off camera, basically. Just a good dude.
And he died young in his 60s. Like, that's too young in a modern day with technology.
Yeah. Cancer's a jerk.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't give a shit. All right, that's all I got for that one.
Okay. Yeah. My next one is last episode, we celebrated the return of Henry Cavill as Superman. And this episode, we mourn the loss of Henry Cavill as Geralt of Rivia.
It wasn't worth it.
It wasn't worth. I mean, it was for him, for his bank account. Sure. It definitely was.
Because Netflix, they don't have like comic book money like that. I mean, they do, but they don't.
They don't give
spend it.
They don't give it out. Yeah, no. So after the upcoming 3rd season, which is finished filming, Henry Cavill is stepping down as The Witcher. Liam Hemsworth has already been cast, and I wish him good luck.
I have no hate for Liam Hemsworth.
No.
He's a good dude.
But those are tough boots to fill, and it
was just like anyone trying to become the next Man of Steel. It's just not.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. There's a lot of effort to play it like it was amicable.
Sure.
But there's been just for months and months, there's been talk about his dissatisfaction with his contract.
Yeah, they won't pay him. The authors of the show don't like the books or the games. Yeah. They make fun of the source material and
allegedly.
The nerds that like it.
Allegedly.
Well, sure, that comes from
comes from somewhere. That's what all this drama would not be out on the internet without. There's no smoke without fire.
Well, and Cavill's a pretty deep nerd. So if they were shitty towards the deep nerds, he wouldn't like it. No.
And he took a low ball I don't know him and I don't know his business.
Sure.
My understanding is he took a pretty lowball contract for the first 3 seasons.
Just to get it going.
With the understanding that if it was successful, which it has been massively successful, to the point that they're doing spin-offs and prequels and everything.
I'm stoked for those.
Yeah. That he could, when he came for the re-up, he'd get paid what he deserved.
Yeah, and I think that's usually fair if you're kind of a franchise actor to go in early, and if it's excellent, then you get your reward.
Yeah, and they just, as far as I can tell, they weren't willing to pony up the money, and so he walked. That's actually something I really appreciate about him, is that he handles his business really good.
Yeah.
And it seems to work out for him.
Well,
so
I mean, him not being locked into a series, which is a lot of time commitment, might mean that we get more Cavill movies. Yeah, like maybe The Highlander.
Oh yeah, I mean that's like I said, that's going to be
it hasn't been canceled yet.
It's still in development.
Yeah, still in development.
Like The Crow. Yeah,
like The Crow.
All those in development movies.
The Crow is not with Henry Cavill.
No, that's Skarsgård, Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that'll be cool.
I think he's great casting. I wish them luck too, but I'll believe all this stuff when cameras are rolling.
Give me a Crow with Stellan Skarsgård.
The old man, the dad. That would be. I mean,
or maybe Dark Knight Returns with him. He'd be grim and like climbing a rope. Ugh, I can't do this anymore.
Actually, Stellan Skarsgård as in a Dark Knight Returns type movie as the old Commissioner Gordon.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be really dope. He could give some real grizzled dialogue. Like he had a monologue in the last episode of Andor that was just fire. So good.
I haven't watched that yet. I'm waiting till the season finishes up. Because I'm finishing Stranger Things. I'm way behind everything. I'm almost done with that.
So last episode of Andor is next week.
Oh, perfect.
So
I'll watch it while we have family coming into town for Thanksgiving. So I'll probably just watch it with my father-in-law.
Good. Yeah. Oh, Andor's good. It's the best Star Wars thing that's happened in years.
I saw an article, or I don't know what it was. I saw a thing, those web blurbs that just come across your metaverse feeds. That said, that was a debate whether Andor was better than the original trilogy.
It's hard because the original trilogy is like a magical cultural touchstone. Andor, I mean, I'm not going to spoil our year-end episode, but there's no way that's not my show of the year.
Oh, okay. Oof. I already know my show of the year. Yes, Divers, we have our year-end episode where we're going to wrap the Cyberpunk series, and we're going to do our traditional year-end tier lists.
Yeah.
What is this? This will be our third one, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Like
it is. We've been
like
doing this for a minute.
Grown-ass podcast.
We have tradition. We have annual traditions. You do it
cool.
twice, and it's just a repeat. But you do it 3 times, it's a tradition.
Yeah, it's a tradition. Okay, so I got some more news.
Okay,
and this is. Let's just keep the Star Wars rolling.
Okay.
Star Wars: The Acolyte began filming.
Oh yeah, I'm stoked on that one too.
Yeah, so it's like a mystery thriller set in the age of the final days of the High Republic. And it's like this former Padawan reunites with their master to investigate crimes. I mean, this seems really cool.
Yeah, I'm all for these grown-up Star Wars shows. I'm kind of like, I'm good with kids Star Wars existing. I appreciate that, but we were getting only kid content, and it's time for some grown-up Star Wars.
And we're the ones that buy shit. Let's be real.
Yeah, that's true.
Kids don't have subscriptions to Disney Plus.
No, their parents do, and they have the little the icon that doesn't let them watch like The Punisher and stuff. the kids friendly version of Disney.
Yeah, so that seems pretty cool. What do you got?
Okay, this is my final one. Toho Studios announced there will be a new Godzilla film directed by Japanese Academy Award-winning filmmaker Takashi Yamazaki. It's going to be released on Godzilla Day next year. That's November 3rd, 2023. And this will be the first Japanese-produced Godzilla film since the last Japanese Academy Award-winning film, Shin Godzilla, in 2016. Okay. So this is a big win for fans because Yamazaki, is a prestigious director in Japan, and in his sort of big movie that he won the Academy Award for, Sunset on 3rd Street, there was a Godzilla like dream sequence in it that's just wonderful. It's so good.
People are really into it.
So people have been always like, this is the guy that should direct a Godzilla movie because he's like a prestigious director that clearly loves the genre and everything. And so we got our wish. Next year, this movie's coming.
So why is November 3rd Godzilla Day?
Because that's the day the original Gojira was released in 1954.
Oh, okay.
And so that's Godzilla's birthday. And
are there big celebrations planned for 2024?
Yeah. So every year now for like the last 3 years, this was the 3rd annual Godzilla Day in Japan. And it's like a big, like a convention festival thing.
Oh, okay.
And they show upcoming stuff. They show toys. They have meet and greets with people in the Godzilla suits. And like, it's like a big like movie prop museum. And it's become, not a holiday exactly, but a money grabbing kind of holiday. Yeah.
Sounds perfect.
The holidays you can charge admission to, that kind of holiday.
Oh yeah. Gotta love those. And the last thing I had, I think we mentioned it last time where we were talking about John Wick 4, but they actually released the trailer.
I watched that trailer,
and it looks dope. He finally goes to war with the High Table, which at this point, in the movies, the High Table has only been discussed as it's like the meeting from where the different organizations get together to talk about issues and whatnot. Because if you are not into John Wick, there are different groups of assassins that have like neutral grounds where they meet, and they have sets of rules and like ritualistic kind of commerce between them, and it's really cool. It's not like supernatural ish, but it's very ritual. I like it. And so he's finally trying to get out for real, and I'm stoked. I can't wait to see this. So Nick and I were talking about doing a power watching all three of the previous, going and seeing John Wick 4 in the theater, immediately coming back here to the pod cave and doing a quick react.
A react to that. Yeah. I'm stoked to see it. It's one of those things. I don't know why I've never seen it, but at some point you miss one movie, and then as they start stacking up, it's like, well, now it's a whole thing, and then you have to like, well, now I need to like devote some time to watching 3 movies. That's not just a casual thing anymore.
Yeah, but you do that for any of these podcast episodes. You'll watch 3 movies.
So that's the thing. I can couch it as something I'm doing for the podcast, and then gives me a reason to do it, which was the whole reason I wanted to do a podcast, to have reasons to do these sort of things. Because otherwise I just did it on my own, and then I'm like, well, now I know everything about this subject, and I guess I'll write a Facebook post about it.
Yeah, I remember you telling me occasionally like, oh yeah, I just rewatched all of the Marvel movies in chronological order as they,
they take place.
They take place, not necessarily their release date, and I was just like, ugh.
I've done that twice.
That sounds terrible. I wouldn't want to watch all those movies again.
It's just like doing this Cyberpunk thing, watching these 10 movies in the order that they were released. You see how they influence each other,
how the genre
and
evolved.
what they pick from each other.
Like there are some Matrix moments in here.
Oh, for sure. There hasn't been an action movie since The Matrix that didn't bite The Matrix.
That's true.
It just that just changed action going forward.
Well, and that's why the John Wick movies are so great, because Keanu.
And the guy that directs the John Wick movies was his stuntman from The Matrix. So it's like that's the sort of meta continuity that I get out of doing what we do here. Is that sort of thing. You see how these are connected. Like this movie takes a lot from Clockwork Orange. Yeah. And it's like, if we hadn't watched Clockwork Orange, I wouldn't know that, I wouldn't see it.
Exactly.
And so it just, you find things by deep diving them.
Speaking of meta, since we've had a fairly short news segment, what do you think of the idea that Zuckerberg's metaverse is basically a complete failure? I kind of love it, because I didn't want to change my podcast name.
I was prepared to pitch calling it Megaverse, and just pressing on, not changing any of our addresses or anything, and just swapping one letter and calling it. But yeah, well, I mean, I think it was when you just change the name of something, it's really a bad sign of how the business is going. Well, it's always a desperate last move.
They changed the name of the company to Meta, but because he wanted to be more than just Facebook. But then they do this. It's basically VR The Sims. And it's not. It doesn't look cool at all, and it just looks like Second Life.
And last I read, they have 38 active users.
Oh my God! He spent He spent billions on that.
Billions. It looks like garbage, and no one uses it.
And then they got rid of 11,000 employees because the company was hemorrhaging money. Why didn't he reimburse the company for the money he wasted on this stupid project?
That's not how you be a billionaire.
That's not billionaire thinking.
That's not billionaire thinking. He's planning his exit.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, the smart billionaire does plan their exit. Like Zach Dorsey, you don't even hear about him anymore. Mm-hmm. But he's still got a B after his name.
The thing with Zuckerberg, you have to look at it. When he's in college, he made a thing for creeping on girls.
Because he's a loser.
Because he's a loser. And because people like to talk to each other, and there was a functionality to it, it caught on. He rode that wave up, but there's no business there. Like they make money from selling ads, but there's not really like
promoted posts, all that crap.
It's like he's just been faking it the whole time, right? Because he doesn't have any sort of good product. He just stumbled into this thing and has been trying to, when someone else has a successful thing, he buys it up and incorporates it, buys Instagram, whatever else.
And
WhatsApp.
Reels are just fucking shitty TikTok.
Mm-hmm. Most Reels are
just
TikToks. You can see the TikTok. It's they shared their TikTok on TikTok, and then they're like, and I'll share it over to Reels. Or like
if I'll admit, I watch the Reels sometimes, but if I click on the Reel because it's got me, like the algorithm's good, and then I click on the Reel, the user or whatever, so I can see more of their Reels.
Yeah.
It always has a message leading you to their TikTok. It's never original content.
Since they started really pushing Reels and the Instagram stories over how posts used to work, our social media engagement had just gone down. We get way less likes than we did before they started people don't like videos.
Well, you can, and you can't do a thing like nowadays, and this is very meta, divers. You can't post, if you post links to things, you get buried in the algorithm. Like I have a friend who he did a whole post on it where he did a bunch of testing and a bunch of just homebrew testing. And he's a smart dude. And he doesn't post links to anything. He discusses it in text and he puts a link as a top comment.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's like, and he said it increases visibility and engagement.
Because then it has comments on it.
Yeah, it's a comment, and it's stupid because it's your comment.
That's just like liking
your own post.
Liking your own post actually does help the visibility of the post, but it's bad form.
It's bad. It's bad.
It just
you don't want to do that.
It's like wearing your own band shirt. It's very it's like, oh, geez, try hard.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm glad the metaverse failed. I like being deep dive the meta. Nah, I don't want to be deep dive the mega.
You don't want to be deep dive the mega. But I'm willing to do it if he presses us. We'll go mega
no,
right away.
If he comes, we sell him the name. Because I own the website.
There you go. That's even better. I don't need to be in the Billy Club, but I'll just like be in the Millie Club.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Or the 100,000 Club would be pretty good.
Let's just build a garage studio off my house with our meta money.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, so what do we got to drink here?
All right.
Podcast fuel.
Today we have Shark Destroyer from 5440 right here in good old Washougal, Washington. It's kind of your hometown brewery.
Yeah, like when Nick pulled this out, I was like, Shark Destroyer? I bought a lot of this beer. I often, when I go and eat there, I'll grab a 4-pack of these.
Yeah, this is not the first time that I've had it. Maybe I've had it out of your fridge.
Probably. And last Christmas, we always get the beer Advent. I pulled several cans of Shark Destroyer.
And so it's got the can art has sort of like a tribute both to The Life Aquatic and to the movie Jaws, which of course was directed by Steven Spielberg, who directed this film, and so it just felt like a appropriate beer.
Yeah, it's really good. It's a hazy IPA.
Yeah, well, it's a murky IPA.
Yeah, okay, my
yeah.
bad.
And so they say, encounter this highly abnormal haze-like beer. It's recognizable by its citrus-forward aroma and juice-packed flavor that comes from the over 2.5 pounds of Calypso and citrus hops that are used per barrel, and it is a 6.8 ABV, 65 IBU. And I mean, we're maybe leaning a little too hard on the hazy because I'm running out of things to say about them.
Yeah.
But I really like hazy beers, and everyone's making them because they're trendy. So
Sure. I mean, they're good. I've had enough regular IPAs. What's going to be the next IPA trend?
Oh, well, we're kind of
Like fruited IPA?
well, like the milkshake IPA thing. I think that's already kind of crested and gone
Yeah.
down. I think the next trend is low alcohol and no alcohol beers.
No alcohol beer? Mm-hmm. Is that a thing people are doing?
That's a thing. Yeah, that's a big. There's a lot of money in the
Craft zero alcohol beer.
Yeah, because people drank a lot over the pandemic, and people are examining their lifestyle choices, and people enjoy the community of having a pint at the pub, but don't want to get shit hammered.
Sure.
So
I mean, why not just go sessions? Like we've got like 2.5% or something.
Well,
like
that's
that.
a low alcohol
Sure,
beer. So
yeah.
that's part of it. So low alcohol and no alcohol. That's the trend.
I do like a sessionable beer. Something
I
where I
pref-
could have 2 or 3.
I like the English model of doing things. They have Guinness half strength. They have lunch beers.
Yeah.
Like you have one and go back to work afterwards.
Not me.
No,
Not
well,
me,
not
guys.
that would be. I knew some. There was people in your profession
drive.
when I was. I know I can't do it either. Sometimes I have gone on my lunch and bought beers like
For this?
and I feel so uncomfortable in
Having them in
having
your
a beer in my lunch bag at work. It's like, oh, I promise I'm not going to touch it. But I know that because I work for an HMO, I know for a fact doctors send each other alcohol in the inner office mail because I move the mail. So I know when they send like a bottle of limoncello because I just got back from Italia, here you go, and they mail it off to one of their friends.
Wow. That's interesting.
So the doctors don't give an F about anything, so I should relax. But
yeah, whatever.
But
It's just on the road.
I'm a much more uptight person than I try to present myself as.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, you're not supposed to do this. Like I have those
It's
sort
just
of thoughts.
anxiety inducing.
Exactly.
All right, so let's go ahead.
What if I got in a wreck and the can burst, beer got all over inside
you.
my vehicle? How would that look?
It would look real bad.
It would look really bad. Yeah.
You got in a wreck and they open it up and they're like, look, he had beer.
He was clearly
hell?
drinking. I wasn't.
It's closed.
It doesn't
All right.
look closed.
So let's wrap this up. We will come back and get into the chronological deep dive.
Welcome back, divers. Let's dive into Minority Report, 2002, directed by Steven Spielberg.
So this movie opens up on clearly like a bad dream or something.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like this weird vision.
Before the movie even starts, the Amblin Entertainment and 20th Century Fox vanity cards have this blue underwater effect on them.
Yeah.
Like it's so you get that dreamy vibe even before they start showing you images.
Yeah. And it's like this weird blurry vision, and you see people kissing, and then you see stabbing, and
Yeah,
this guy-
bloody scissors, and a man coming up the stairs, and a double murder, and it's all very, like you said, dreamlike. That's the same word that I use.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. And then it sort of cuts, and you see this apparatus, and it's weird. It's got like tubes and stuff, and you see this marble rolling, and
Yeah.
it has a name on it.
Yeah, so we come out of the dream sequence and kind of are pulled in on a blue eye, and then pull out and see this girl in the water.
Yeah.
And then we, like you said, we cut to to it's like a CNC machine, and it's laser cutting 2 little wooden balls, and one drops down, it rolls through the clear tube, and it falls into a cradle that's labeled Victim, and it's got 2 names on it, Sarah Marks and Donald Dubin.
And it's a red ball. And that's significant.
Yeah, that ends up being significant. And this is, like I said earlier, I was just immediately, it's like, this looks very, very Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
The colors that are used, the clear plastic. Spielberg, the movie before this movie was, he directed the film AI, which was a movie that Kubrick was set to direct. And then he had handed it kind of off to Spielberg, and then Spielberg finished that movie after Kubrick died.
Oh.
And I think he's still in Kubrick mode. Like, that movie was a tribute to his friend, and I think this movie, in large part, is also a tribute to Stanley Kubrick.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
And then we kind of cut to Tom Cruise striding into a futuristic office building.
Yeah, the Department of Precrime. We keep using the same words because I say it's a futuristic office building. It's a cross between a cubicle farm and a multi-level Apple store.
Yeah,
it's a lot of white, a lot of clear walls, and people busy at work. And he just kind of charges in there like he owns the place. And he has a little banter with a coworker, and it's like this is the guy that's in charge, but he enjoys the collegial atmosphere with his coworkers. It's very, show don't tell, giving you the vibe of the thing.
Yeah, he gets along with his subordinates.
People respect this guy.
Yeah, and then he gets on some script, on a video call, and he gets some judges to authorize him to go after a killer, and then he starts have these futuristic monitors that are transparent. Yeah. How annoying would that be to see the shit behind the thing you're trying to see?
It would make it really hard to look at porn without people noticing. They would just see a reverse image of the porn you're looking at.
You've got your clear cell phone.
Yeah, and so it's while this is going on, we see the second ball drop down the tube, and it lands in the cradle that says perpetrator, and the name on that is Howard Marks. And like you said, Tom Cruise's character, and John Anderton, he kind of behaves like a conductor when he gets in front of the screen, and classical music starts playing, and he starts sifting through these images that we saw earlier.
He has these gloves on that have little lights on the fingertips and stuff. It really made me think that in 2002 they really thought we'd be interacting with computers in a lot different way than people do, because you can barely get people to use multi-finger touch things on a touch screen. People don't like touch screens. They like mice.
So, and I kind of called this out in my notes too, because the first thing that I can think of where people interact with the internet that way is Johnny Mnemonic, which we didn't do as part of this series, but we have covered before.
You know what movie should have been in this series? Sorry to interrupt. Hackers.
Free Jack probably belongs in there. There's some cyberpunk classics that I'd swap out a few movies for.
12 Monkeys.
I like 12 Monkeys a lot, but it didn't go on this list. It ought not have been on this list.
It should have been Hackers.
Anyways, it's a long movie.
This movie was long as hell.
We'll keep the tangents to the minimum.
Okay. But that's sort of my specialty.
Is tangents. Yeah. My specialty is taking insane notes that cover every detail. So like you said, he calls it, I wanted to call it the Chief Justice Pollard is played by George D. Wallace. George D. Wallace played Commando Cody in the old Rocket Man serials from the 40s.
Oh.
Those are such a big deal to Spielberg and Lucas. So I just thought that was a cool move, getting that old man in for just a little part. Just get him a paycheck, keep his SAG benefits up there.
For sure.
And so I thought that was cool. And it keeps this, there's sort of these things that they make pretenses to legal justification for the things they're doing. And as we see, there really shouldn't be. there's wild civil liberty violations that go on in this movie.
Oh, yeah. There's no way that this would work. I mean, it was a pilot. The Precrime division was a test pilot.
Yeah, it's an experiment that's just going on in the District of Columbia.
And it is interesting. It's in the District of Columbia. So there are more legal gray areas in a district than a state anyway. So I don't know.
They don't have any congressional representation, no senator to
Taxation
advocate,
without representation.
no one to advocate for them, and then it get it's
arrested for mind crimes.
It's a majority black city. Like, there's a lot of implications to this movie, and to Spielberg's credit, I think he's on the right side of all the moral issues in the movie.
Yeah, I think so.
He's very, this is not an ambivalent movie where it's like, and now you decide, is it right or wrong? He's like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
He's constantly showing you that it's wrong. From this very first pre-crime situation, because he's sifting through the images and starts trying to put a picture together of what he's looking at, who Howard Marks is.
And what we learn kind of in this is he's sifting through a collage of dream images from 3 different precogs.
Yeah.
And they're ever so slightly different. And so he's looking at these different images, trying to get together a picture. Who is this guy? Where is he at? What's going on? Because this is a red ball, which means it's going to happen soon. Yeah, this is a crime of passion. It's not a premeditated murder. And there's a timer running. And once we kind of get an idea this murder is going to happen in X amount of minutes, we start cutting over to the Marx's house. Yeah. And it's a row house in Georgetown, Virginia, or that is Georgetown in the District of Columbia? Georgetown is in DC. Okay. Tangent myself. I don't know. And we see this family, like the kid is studying the Gettysburg Address because Spielberg has a Lincoln thing. And the wife's trying to get the husband out of the house, but the husband saw this weird guy waiting across the street across from his house, and it's not the first time he's seen this fella. And so he's kind of like, what if I stayed home today and that guy doesn't come in and bang my wife? Yeah, it's kind of like this guy has like a shitty life. Like, his wife basically gives him the cold shoulder the whole time. His kid never says a word to him. Oh, that's true. The kid doesn't say anything. Everybody is just like this guy is basically, you are a money earning appliance. Go and do your function. Howard Marks is a beta male cuck. He literally is. God, Nick, I didn't know you were part of the manosphere. But he literally sits on the floor and cries next to the bed while he's totally blue pilled. Oh my God. Ridiculous. So anyways, we've seen the images. We know he's about to kill these people. Yeah, with the same scissors they were doing the school project with. His son was cutting pictures of greatest president ever, Abraham Lincoln, with. and so we're watching this unfold, and we're watching Tom Cruise try to figure it out. I'm holding back a tangent about greatest president ever. Just so you guys know. I did tongue-in-cheek say it. But not to disrespect very popular President Abraham Lincoln. On this, but yeah, let's keep going. And so, it's a really well-constructed scene. Like, there's real tension. Like, you have this sense of urgency on the time, and you have the false start where they get his driver's license. They're ready to jam out of there and go to the address, and then they find out that they moved and they're left no forwarding address. So they're having to use visual clues to figure out where this row house is, and it's pretty hard. Like a kid on multiple sides, left and right, and he's like, "It's a merry-go-round. Yeah, because it's across from a park." Yeah, because you can hear the squeak of the thing, like in the audio, and he's like, "Oh." They find a way to make this investigation actually kind of exciting. Here, I'll do it as a brief. This is not a tangent. This is relevant to the podcast. In my preparation for doing this podcast, even though I'd never officially studied film studies, I've read a few film studies textbooks. Sure. Steven Spielberg's very
controversial filmmaker for film snobs because he's either just an absolute hack that produces Drek or a great auteur filmmaker. Like, people are very, there was one book I read where the guy, he said repeatedly, Steven Spielberg hasn't done a good movie since Jaws, which would be most of his career and include all the Indiana Jones movies and E.T. Movies that most people agree are great.
I mean, have you watched E.T. lately?
No, not since I was like 5.
It's pretty bad.
I just think you have a chip on your shoulder against kids movies.
What?
And you can't appreciate it for what it is. You're like, this isn't aimed at me. It's not John Wick. There's no gun fu in this. It's about little kids saving an alien.
Alf was more entertaining. The Alf movie.
Is there an Alf movie?
I know there's an Alf animated movie, and that was pretty good.
Oh, okay. That's news to me. I don't know that. Anyways, I'm going to take the controversial opinion. Steven Spielberg's actually a very good filmmaker. His film craft is just like, he's just really good. He's really good at composing the scenes. He's really good at laying breadcrumbs that you follow back later. He's good at everything about making movies.
Yeah. I fall on the side of Steven Spielberg comes up. He's good.
Jurassic Park, perfect film. That's just a perfect movie.
The first one, really good.
Yeah.
Everything after that should be deleted.
I like the Jurassic World movies have something to offer. Okay. Anyways, that's my tangent there. They ultimately do figure out where these row houses are. They go and load up into their drop ship that looks like a Boba Fett ship.
Yeah, it looks like Boba Fett's ship, which at one point was called Slave One.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, have you never seen a Star Wars thing and know that this is straight up ripped?
Lucas and Spielberg not only are the bestest of buds, they constantly homage each other back and forth.
Okay, so
there's no way this is not on purpose.
So, in the words of the modern Twitch people, he's a Lucas Dick writer.
I don't think so. I think it's they're more like arm in arm skippers because they've done this all together.
I would say they're a 2-man human centipede.
An Ouroboros. You can't tell where Lucas ends and Spielberg begins.
Okay, that's dark, but it's funny.
So, I did almost skip out over the introduction of Colin Farrell as Danny Whitwer.
Yeah.
Because when
the time cops, they've got a heel. He's a Fed. He's a jerk.
He's a twink from the feds. There's a little casual homophobia in there. Oof, 2002 is a long time ago.
Yeah.
So when they have the false start and they come back to reanalyze the data, that's when twink from the feds, Danny Whitwer, introduces himself. He's sent by the Attorney General himself, Department of Justice. He's there to oversee this program.
And they're like, you're not the boss of me. And he's like, well, actually, I am.
And they're like, okay, well, we got to go stop a murder. Important stuff you wouldn't understand.
Yeah.
And they go and they load up into their dropship, and they have like these like Voltron tubes to get up into it. I thought this is unnecessary.
I kind of like the Voltron tubes.
It's very cool, like very anime.
Sort of reminded me of the 12 Monkeys seat thing that they put him on and raise him up.
This is what it could look like with a budget.
Yeah.
But and I just noticed one of the pre-crime cops crossed himself before he left.
Yeah.
And these are like these sort of religious imagery things. Like Danny Whitwer has like one of those saint medallions that he always kisses all the time. There's a lot of religious imagery in this movie. They come to the park, drop down like, future Gestapo like they are, and they have one more like moment of hesitation while they need to know which the houses.
Did he leave the door open?
Yeah.
What?
He's like, oh, hold on, I gotta look at it.
Let me get this clear.
Yeah. While the guy is like he's holding the scissors and he's
like crying while his wife is getting railed. It's like,
It's really sad.
This is darkness right here.
I thought it was the saddest thing is they're in bed together. He's been sitting on the floor crying.
They didn't even notice.
They didn't notice him. He stands up and whimpers out, "I forgot my glasses. You know how blind I am without them." and of course they stop what they're doing, and his wife's like, "Oh, don't cry." Like,
it's not what it seems.
It's really killing the vibe. And then Tom Cruise comes charging in, tackles the guy, dramatically pushes his hand through the window. All the other future Gestapo drop through the skylight for no good reason.
Yeah. Well, property damage is a police. That's a thing.
That's what they love to do.
Well, it's one of the perks of the job.
But they get to do it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have to go in through the skylight, but we can.
Yeah, we can, and we will.
So we're allowed to, and we will. And they totally manhandle the victims as well as the perpetrator.
They mess them up. They're just grabbing them.
They're throwing them around, and this is what I was saying about the morality of the movies on display right from from the start.
This movie's anti-cop.
Yeah, and it's very not heroic. Even though this was exciting, we didn't watch a heroic thing.
This was sad as hell.
The murderer seems like a victim. The victims seem like perpetrators. The cops seem like villains. The whole thing, this is a moral mess.
This is a really This is interesting because I enjoy trope subversion, and this is definitely some serious trope subversion.
Yeah,
there's no hero in this moment.
No, there's no hero in this movie till the last half hour probably.
Yeah, I mean there are characters I like.
Yeah,
but they're not heroes. Really.
No, for the most part, I'll make Danny Whitwer's pretty straight arrow.
I mean the thing is that
he's dedicated to justice.
It's another subversion thing. He starts off and you're supposed to hate him. He's the outsider who's gonna mess everything up. He represents the feds. Blah blah blah. But in the end, he's actually a dude with a pure motivation. He does some dick things, like breaking into John's apartment, but
that's also a violent. Yeah, they definitely. Civil liberties are out the window in 2046. It's just no one has them, and that's actually a theme of the movie: is that people don't have civil liberties in this world, and they don't even notice.
In 2046, we should do an episode.
We'll still be podcasting
this movie. Oh yeah,
it'll be a hollow.
It'll be
a hollow cast.
It'll be in whatever Metaverse 9.0 or whatever, and it'll be
yeah. And so from there, we cut back to the precogs in their tank, and I think this is the first time we see all three of them. There's two boys,
and they're kind of spazzing.
Yeah, they're experiencing what they call an echo or deja vu, where they're reliving the traumatic murder.
It never happened.
Yeah, it never happened, but to them, it's like it really happened. Right off, these kids have a really terrible existence. It's not.
Oh, they're just like that guy was a money-making appliance. These people are appliances. They're not people.
Yeah, which. That's Tom Cruise basically says that in a few scenes where he's like, it's best not to think of them as human.
Yeah.
And it's but they clearly are human. And we see Wally, the caretaker, and
who's a creep. Let's
be
real.
From the moment Wally's introduced, I start kind of saying to myself, don't do anything creepy with those kids.
And he does.
Eventually. I had myself sort of convinced Wally's going to be okay. And then as we got farther into the movie, it's he went and kissed one. It's bad Wally. You're a bad caretaker. And while they're having that flashback, Jad, who was one of the other cops, he tells Wally to delete the memory from the precogs.
Yeah.
And then we get a RoboCop-esque commercial for the National Precrime Initiative. It's being voted on. It's a national election. They want to take this precrime operation nationwide, and Lamar Burgess Burgess.
This is a total data dump. This is a tell don't show.
It is a tell don't, but it's done in a show way.
Yeah, like in RoboCop.
Yeah, so it's incorporated in, and we're not watching the commercial. The commercial's playing on billboards all over the city.
Yeah, extremely invasively. Like, they just beam shit into your eyes.
Yeah, and director Burgess is played by the late, great Max von Sydow, a veteran of so many great sci-fi movies. And we see Anderton out jogging through the filming locations of The Wire in the middle of the night.
Yeah, because
not suspicious at all.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm just gonna go to Baltimore. You know, nothing bad happens in Baltimore in the dark.
And he's jogging around, and you know he finds his drug dealer out there, of course, because that's what you do running around in those sort of neighborhoods in the middle of the night. And the drug dealer alludes to knowing who he is, and basically how it's good to have the chief of Precrime as a customer, because he has some dirt on this guy, so if I ever get popped, I can lean on him to get me off.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise is like, well, what do you think you know? And the guy gets up and has this cheesy one-liner about in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, but he's a no-eyed man. He takes off his sunglasses and he has really bad CGI eye holes.
Yeah, that was weird looking. I didn't like that.
I didn't like it.
That was a cut. They should have just got rid of that.
It could have gone, but it's sort of it's essential, because we have to set up that Anderton is a drug addict.
Yeah, and he's addicted to a fictional drug called Neuroin.
Neuroin, yeah,
which is like heroin and neuro together.
That's very cyberpunk sounding.
It is,
and you get it from little inhalers, little poppers.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
I mean, drugs aren't cool, kids, but
that's an efficient way to do.
Inhalers are cool.
You know, but it's very wasteful. He has a lot of single-use plastics.
And he doesn't clean up like his space age awesome house with his it is a total wreck. Like, this guy, he's rich. He should just hire a cleaner.
Yeah, so he does have a pretty cool condo, and his future car comes up and docks right on the side of it.
That's awesome.
That's really slick. And his apartment is a very odd mix of maintained and shit heap. Yeah. Because he has a ton of plants that are all healthy. So it's like, well, he waters plants. Like, he does some things, but like food everywhere, and like his little neuro inhalers everywhere. He's high when he gets home. Like, he stumbles out of the car.
But basically, ever since his wife left him, his life has been shit.
Yeah, because he sits down, he's eating cereal right out of the box, and starts watching.
That's not a crime.
That's not a crime, but that's how you show a man's he's given up.
I'd have had him get a ramen thing and just
eat it dry
and eat dry ramen.
If you take bites of the noodles and put the powder in your mouth.
Yeah, I think that a weird ramen scene would have been more interesting to me, but because I like cereal, I think there's nothing wrong with cereal as an adult.
I thought it was a really good cyberpunk moment in that the cereal has a holographic advertisement on the box that won't shut up. So he throws it across the room, and like those little things that I was like, these are good, like flavor, like world flavor. Yeah, there's a lot of good world flavor.
Advertisement just wants to invade your space. They want to advertise everything everywhere. Like,
none of these movies ever predict smartphones, because that's how we get this invasive advertisement.
We do it willingly because it's our Neuroin.
It is. Well, you just. Like in the movie, you just become numb to this stuff because you're constantly bombarded with it. And so anyway, he gets high, he eats Cocoa Puffs, and he sits down and starts sad watching holographic home movies of his little dead son and his wife.
Saying the words along with them. And
it's very like cheesy. Especially the movies themselves are very saccharine sweet and cheesy. But it tells the story. But it's
this scene too fucking long.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll definitely give you that.
Like this whole like the drug getting thing should have been shorter. The like slumming around, I don't know what's the right word is, like sulking around the apartment and then watching these videos should have been like half the length. I was like, I get it. Sad sack drug addict, used to be on top of the world. Now he's less than shit. Okay, moving on.
Let's pitch the things we'll cut. So I cut the guy taking his glasses off.
Oh yeah, that doesn't make it.
The billboard. That's a good way to.
I like the setting stuff. Yeah.
That's a good way to info dump. Him jogging through the bad neighborhood, getting the drugs, going home high, eating cereal out of the box. What you got to do is get the wife in the scene with the son, so the wife and the kid are in one scene, and don't have him be like, well, that's sad movie 1, let's put in sad movie 2 with the wife.
Yeah, they needed to have a sad movie one
and sad 2 movie with both people
and have him cry and then move on.
Yep. And just tighten this piece up, because this is a flabby piece. We can get tighter.
Like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
I'd love to get it down to 2, at least, maybe under 2.
1 hour and 45 minutes.
That's good. That's a tight. That's the kind of shit I expect from Steven Spielberg. That's Jurassic Park length. I don't want Schindler's List length. I want Jurassic Park. That's the tight Spielberg.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I like a short movie, but I like a really tight movie. Like I thought The Matrix was super tight.
I like a long movie when the long movie serves the movie. You know what I mean? Like when it's like the Lord of the Rings special editions, and you're like, oh, I don't see how you can make this any shorter. You know, like you never.
You mean the Hobbit special editions?
No, see those ones. I was like, how is this 3 movies when it should be 1? So it's like certain things can be much shorter.
Don't tell me you cut the Radagast montages.
You know I would cut those because they're not in the book.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything that's not in the book is out. That's why we did a podcast about that. You should get back to that one sometime. That's another classic Nick and Dave deep dive.
So we're grown enough that we're self-referential.
Okay. So anyways, the next morning we get a shot of the futuristic freeway where the automatic cars drive around like slot cars,
which is pretty cool, but a bit much.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's cool world building. We don't linger on it too much.
I like
at
the
this
cars,
point.
And I like the cityscape that we see, and I like how the roads go vertically and all that. And
it's efficient. Yeah,
and this something about the design for this, like it looks like Art Deco to me. It's like straight out of like the 30s and 40s. Like
of the style of the city and the stuff. Yeah, I'd say that's true. And then we get back to the office of Precrime. This is the first time we see one of the retinal scanners. This is eyes are a repeating theme.
Yeah, everywhere.
We focus in on the precog's eyes when they're having visions. Everyone's getting their eyes scanned. The drug dealer has no eyes, like eyes, the eyes that are always watching you and the things that are always watching your eyes. So he scans his eyes, goes into the office, and Director Lamar is waiting for him. The guy we saw from the commercial, and he's got concerns because he's stressing about this election and he's stressing about the DOJ investigating him. So he really wants Anderton to kind of stonewall Whitwer. He's like, tell him what you need to tell him, but don't let him mess this up because we're about to go national.
Yeah, I don't know why Lamar wants it to go national so bad. Is it just hubris? Like, this is his baby. He's the father of ending all murder.
Yeah.
Like, this is just a legacy thing?
I guess. I think, power wants more power is a big thing. You know what I mean? Like, people get power and then they want more power.
Yeah.
And especially like people like this are convinced of the good they're doing. Like, like this is helpful. And I'm willing to, not to spoil too much ahead. he's very willing to compromise his morals in order for the greater good.
Yeah,
quote
yeah.
unquote.
He's an ends justify the means kind of a guy.
Yeah, and so as we go into the office, the pre-crime detectives are all sitting around there, and they're debating the ethics of pre-crime with Danny Whitwer.
Yeah, the guy, the blonde one, I can't remember.
Fletch.
Fletch. Where have I seen that guy in?
Everything.
Yeah,
that guy's in so much stuff. And,
Yeah.
And I like that actor. He's a really good character actor that's in a lot of things.
Yeah, so like he's talking to Whitwer, and he's basically telling him
That's
how
Neil McDonough.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he's in everything, and they're basically telling him how it all works, and they're debating the morality of it all.
Yeah, of free will versus determination.
And I'm totally on Whitwer's side because, so here's the deal: if you can show up and arrest someone for a crime they haven't committed but would commit, you could also show up and give them an intervention
And
as
stop the
to
crime.
prevent the crime and rehabilitate the person.
Mm-hmm.
You caught it before it happened, therefore you can help them get better.
And then that
mental health.
That actually would be like a societal benefit, right?
Yeah,
like,
and it would be moral, like because you're not locking people up for something they didn't do.
You prevented the crime and then provided the people with the help that they
Because
needed.
preventing the crime's is the most important thing because you don't want people getting murdered. But on the other hand, you should figure out what led to them wanting to commit murder and try to sort all that out and everything. It just seems like this is a real slippery slope.
And the canard that they never ever discuss in this movie is what a small percentage of crime murder actually is.
Oh yeah.
And it is the only crime that this system works on is murder. It doesn't prevent anything else.
No, they also said that it there was one of the
Oh, in the commercials,
they said they stopped a rape and whatnot.
Right.
So,
But
was that a rape and death?
it was a rape and murder because in this situation, Danny asks them why it doesn't work on rape and assault and terrorism.
And then they use spirituality to explain it.
Yeah, they're
because
like,
basically they're
what we're
using
doing
magic.
is metaphysical. And Tom Cruise kind of comes in
halfway through,
and he, as a demonstration, he takes one of the balls, the precog balls, and he rolls it across the counter, and Danny instinctually catches it, and he's like, see, was that going? Why did you catch it? And he's like, because it was going to fall. It's like, and the fact that you stopped it from falling doesn't mean that it wasn't going to fall. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's his big mic drop moment on the philosophy of the whole thing.
Yeah, it was going to happen, but your reaction to the fact that it was going to happen can be changed.
Yeah. And there's a mention in here of Iris Henneman, who is the other founder besides Burgess of Precrime. Kind of how she's the only person that understands how this works. Foreshadowing. And Danny, basically says, well, I'd love to see him in person.
Let me in there. I'm going to see these guys. You can't see them. Yes, I can. I have a warrant. Let me see it. Okay.
Yeah. Basically. And I like the way this all plays out because Danny's a cool cucumber. He hardly ever loses his temper or anything. And he basically, he says he wants to see the precogs. And they're like, no one goes inside the temple, because so there can be no accusation of tampering. And he's like, well, I've got a federal warrant, so let me in.
Yeah.
And then Tom Cruise just is like, let me see the warrant, and then bulldozes in there. He's basically everyone's gonna go in, and he just charges through them and marches in there and starts low key having a quiet tantrum.
Yeah.
Basically, if we're going to go in there, I'm going to go in first, and I'm going to
fuck everything up.
I'm going to
upset everyone.
I'm going to assert dominance and show that even though you have authority over me, I'm in charge of this situation.
Yeah.
And
you're not the boss of me. Yeah. I'm the boss of you.
Yeah, basically. And it freaks out Wally and
Agatha.
Well, not immediately, because we find out that basically they've got these 3 kids just zonked out of their minds on chemicals that keep them sort of not comatose, because they can't. Basically, they have to be like semi-conscious in order to have visions. They can't be fully asleep, but they can't really be awake.
Yeah.
So they're just sort of half sedated.
So here's a question: if they're gonna take Precrime nationwide, how do they do that?
They need more kids.
Do they already have more kids?
I
think maybe, but where are they? Who's got them? Maybe only Lamar knows. I don't know. But it's like, this is a little bit weird.
Hinneman alludes to there being other kids, but not a lot of them, because most of these kids don't survive past age 12.
Well, and they all need to be children of mothers who were addicted to heroin.
Right. Which, it doesn't ever get addressed, but I think we can assume the government also supplies
heroin. Yeah, this is crack. Let's be real.
Yeah.
This is DC. This is crack. They're using crack babies. Mm-hmm. This is all like very, very thinly veiled nonsense.
Yeah, totally. So because, that's a good question that the movie never asks or answers. To go national, because there is a radius to how big a space that the kids can predict crime for. So you would literally need 3 drug-addicted psychic children in every district around the country in order to take your mass violation of people's civil liberties nationwide.
So what you're saying
is a lot of drug-addicted women having kids.
You would have to have thousands of slaves created by addicting women to illegal drugs.
Yep.
Yeah, this is bankrupt from the beginning.
Oh, it's horrible. Not that I like the horrible morality, like how clear the morality is, I really like.
Yeah, and I think the thing is the hard part so far in the movie is I don't like any of these characters.
There's no good guys.
Like Anderton is garbage. Mm-hmm. Whitwer is a dick. Lamar, garbage. Like the only characters I
like Fletch. I like Jad and Fletch are pretty good.
Yeah, I like the other cyber cops, except for that they're all a little bit like, I don't know, superstitious. Like they think these kids are gods.
Basic, yeah.
Or like the voice of God.
Yeah, and that's how they've justified.
They're doing mental gymnastics.
The drastic things they're doing is like, we're saving lives, and this is a spiritual process, and like they've made a religion for themselves out of it, so they don't feel like Nazis. Like that's because that's what it would be. The 3 precogs would get their names. It's Agatha, Arthur, and Dashiell. Arthur and Dashiell are twins. They're boys. Agatha's the girl. She's the best at it. Like, she's the most gifted of them.
And you need 3 because you have to triangulate it.
Yeah. And so we get kind of the pseudoscience jargon rundown from Wally.
Yeah, Wally nerd-splains to everyone.
And when everyone is satisfied with what they've heard, everyone leaves, including Wally, I guess, to go to the bathroom or something, and leaves John there alone with the kids. Mm-hmm. And he had just been saying the thing to Danny about how it's best not to think of them as human, and and had been saying all this stuff. But you can see, like, being in there, he's a little weirded out. And so he kind of leans over Agatha and he's snapping his fingers and trying to get her attention. Yeah. And she, like, comes awake and grabs him, and she whispers in his ear, "Can you see?" And up on the view screen up above, you see images of a woman being drowned.
Yeah. More can you see? More eye stuff.
More eye stuff. Yeah.
Then Anderton visits the prison, right?
And Wally's freaked out. He's like, "What'd you do to her?" Because she's not awake. She can't see you. And da 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 da.
He's kind of the Igor, right?
I guess he is. If it's a Frankenstein movie, he's the Igor. He's he's sort of the mad scientist. The next guy is the Igor. I think. Yeah.
Nah.
Because we go to the Department of Containment.
Yeah, the guard in there. That guy. Ugh.
Yeah. So we go. Anderton. he sees that vision, and he goes to the Department of Containment to see the sentry Gideon, played by Tim Blake Nelson, and he's playing Jesu Joy of Man by Bach on the organ.
It's like, it helps the prisoners.
Yeah, it helps them relax.
Just creepy ass pipe organ music helps everyone relax.
And he's in like a automated wheelchair that he's very like herky jerky about driving around, and he's very over the top, and
he's extremely skeevy. Like he's like greasy.
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's he feels untrustworthy, you know, right from the start. And so, you know, Anderton tells him he needs to investigate a murder, and he's like, well, I got plenty of those. And he says, by drowning, and he's like, oh, not that many as those. And he starts scrolling through, and when Anderton sees the images that he saw from the thing, he asks to see that crime, and they watch it. And we talked about earlier, there's 3 precogs, but there's only the 2 visions there.
Yeah.
And he wants they have the majority report of the combined visions. What they don't have is the individual, and he just wants to see Agatha's. So from that, we have to go actually to where we keep the prisoners.
Yes.
Which this is like the craziest shit of the whole movie is because they have everyone in suspended animation in their underwear in tubes held vertically and just stored in the ground, and they can bring them all up out of the ground and sift through prisoners.
Yeah.
And they all have these like those, you know, like the 2-way computer screen over their eyes, where it seems like the crime that they didn't actually commit, that they were going to commit, is playing on a loop in front of their eyes.
It's torture.
Yeah, I mean, there's no Geneva Convention in 2046 because you can't do this to people. And they pull up the guy that was supposed to have murdered this lady. What was her name? Anne Lively. The prisoner is a John Doe, and he was unable to be identified because he had his eyes replaced.
Yeah,
more eye stuff.
I think that was pretty interesting. They're like, how is it possible to be a John Doe? Oh, he had his eyes swapped out so that he could get by all the retinal scanners.
Yeah, and so he's like, well, show me Agatha's data. Agatha's data is not there. They only have the data from the twins. And then
what happened to it?
Yeah,
I don't know. Could have been a glitch.
Yeah, it could have been a glitch. Well, what happened to the victim? And he's like, well, she was a heroin addict, just like the killer was. And then she went to rehab, and then she got out of rehab, and then, you know, we lost track of her.
Yeah, she got better.
Yeah, and he's like, well, where is she now? And it's like, I don't know, another glitch. And so
lots of glitches.
Yeah, and so this is, you know, triggering his detective instincts, right? So he's like, all right, I'm going to take this data. And Gideon half-ass protests, but, you know, he can't stand up to his boss, and he just tells him, he's like, careful, Chief. You dig up the past, all you get is dirty.
Yeah, this guy's just, ugh.
Yeah, and do you think he knows more, I think, than what that warning tells me he knows,
I think that he is very okay with looking the other way, and he's probably looked the other way quite a lot of times for like Lamar and whatnot.
Sometimes the director comes down here and just deletes stuff.
Yeah,
and I go and then get another soda from the machine, and I come back and say goodbye as he leaves.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, he's totally okay with the system being corrupt as long as he's got his little fiefdom.
Oh yeah. Just play a piano for people in a medically induced coma being tortured.
Yeah. This is normal.
This is fine. Hey, it's a government job. You've got good benefits and a pension.
Yeah. He's gonna retire.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
So Anderton, being an idiot, goes to director Lamar to tell him everything that he's uncovering.
Yeah. And he's just basically telling him, oh, there's missing files and blah blah blah. And basically they're talking about pre-crime. Like this conversation evolves, and they discuss like the possibility of this all going away.
Yeah, like basically Lamar is so good at redirection. Like he pretends to listen to the thing that you're concerned about, then he distracts you with being an affable old man, and then comes in with the thing he wants you to worry about.
Yeah.
And he does it to everyone that he talks to just excellently.
Yeah,
like
he's definitely a manipulator.
Oh, he's so good at it. But you're basically the audience. We are still in grandpa mode with this guy. When we see him, we're not suspicious of him yet.
Huh.
Or were you?
I was early on, like,
well, this guy's a creep.
I was like, this boss man, he's a bad dude. Like, I had that early on, and then I even have it in my notes coming up where I'm just like, I bet the boss did it.
Oh, good job getting it early.
I was like, yeah, this guy's a bad guy.
Spoiler, he did.
Yeah, the boss did it.
I basically figured it out when it's like, well, it has to be someone high up at Precrime, and it's like, well, who is the highest up person at Precrime? But you're like, it's like, oh, it has to be the boss. But at this point, I was still.
You still love the grandpa?
It's because it's Max Van Sydow. Like, even when he's Ming the Merciless in Flash Gordon, I like this guy. Like, I immediately like him whenever I see him in anything. So he's coasting on that Von Sydow energy. And so he kind of presses Anderton about his drug use, like basically how we're about to go national and they're going to try and take it away from us. And you're a drug addict. And, I low key have used your trauma to manipulate you. But now you need to get your shit together because we're about to go national and I need you to be the face.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. He's like, I've been manipulating you based on the worst event of your life, and now because it's convenient for me, I need you to stop being a fuck up, whereas it's been great this whole time.
Yeah. It's dark. It's really dark.
Yeah, I don't know why you didn't suspect this guy, because he's an asshole.
I don't, because it's Von Sydow, man. Okay, so we cut over to Whitwer, who is illegally investigating Anderton's apartment, and he finds all the Neurowin inhalers all over the place.
And he pockets some.
Yeah, and he puts on one of the home video holograms and tells Sean that Daddy's in a lot of trouble, Sean.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this is gross. Now, you were kind of my favorite guy, and now you're a gross guy, too. Everyone's a little filthy.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was my favorite, because I always thought he was kind of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought at least he was it was understandable what he was doing. At this point, he
stepped over a line.
He's a jerk.
So we cut back to Agatha in the tank. She starts having another prevision, and the ball comes down, and the victim is Leo Crow. And Anderton comes in. He starts doing he gets the Zoom call going with the doctor and the judge.
Funny how we just call it Zoom calls.
I know. This invented Zoom. This is teleconferencing. And he starts putting the clues together. There's a man in sunglasses outside the window. It all starts coming together, and he's pulling out, zooming in on the perpetrator. And it's his face.
He's like, what?
Yeah, and he freaks. And then the next ball, the perpetrator ball, drops. It's got his name on it. And he swipes away the image of his face off the screen. And he gets to
snatches it.
Gets the ball before Jad can get it. And he sends Jad to go get snacks. He's like, yeah, why don't you get that cake from the break room? He's like, yeah, you know what? I
Maybe
like cake.
Get me some too.
I'm a chubby guy. I like cake. And so he goes off to get cake. The doctor is still like looking at the screen, and she's like, I don't understand what I'm seeing here. And he shuts her camera off.
It's like, okay, you're out of here. You know that was me.
Yeah, and he's spinning. Like, he's like, I don't even know this guy, and I'm going to kill him. And precogs are never wrong.
Yeah, in 36 hours, I'm going to kill a guy I've never met. What the hell?
He looks down at Wally down in the temple, and Wally sees all the previsions up on the screen himself, and he's like, I like you, Chief. You've always been nice to me. I'll give you 2 minutes before I hit the alarm. And Anderton's out of there.
Yeah.
He makes a run for it. He sets the crime timer on his watch so he knows when he's supposed to murder this guy. and Whitwer catches him in the elevator as he goes to leave.
But he doesn't know he's on the run.
It's
just like, hey, hold the elevator.
Yeah, he doesn't know he's on the run. He thinks he's having his gotcha moment because he's like, haha, I found your little inhaler, dog.
Got your drugs, bro.
Yeah, he's like, you're in a lot of trouble. What are you gonna do about it? And Anderton, he's like, you set me up, and pulls a gun on him, and he's like, I don't hear a red ball. You're not gonna kill me. And then the alarm goes off, and he's like, am I about to get murdered?
Oh, no.
Like, his face when that alarm goes off is just priceless, because he's like,
yeah,
it's like, this just became a crime of passion.
Just got real. Yeah. I think that's an interesting idea. Like, if you know they're definitely not going to kill me because Precrime would have got them.
Yeah.
But then the alarm goes off. Yeah.
He's like,
it wouldn't stop him from tossing him a hell of a beating.
That's true. That's true. It's like, you're not going to kill me. Boosh.
Yeah, but just a mild pistol whipping.
Yeah. It doesn't work on assault. We already talked about that.
It'll cost you your teeth. No big deal.
Yeah. And so John does get away. He gets in his car and immediately calls Lamar, because everyone calls Lamar after everything, because everyone trusts Grandpa. And
Lamar, I just took the biggest shit I've ever taken. You want to see a picture?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, what the hell?
Did you bet? Because every time he gets a phone call, his assistant comes and gives him his Bluetooth. It was like, it's Anderton.
He dropped a huge deuce.
And he needs to show it to you. No.
I don't have any friends that do that, and I'm glad.
Yeah. So he starts telling Whitwer, he thinks Whitwer set him up. He's telling Lamar everything that's going on. Lamar's like, well, come to me and I'll protect you.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go see Heinemann, because she'll know how they faked the cerebral output, because she's the only one that understands the system, because
she designed Cerebro.
Yeah, basically. It is a big round room.
It's Cerebro.
It's very Cerebro-like.
Divers, that's a Marvel Comics reference if you didn't know.
And so he kicks out the window of his car, and we go into a very sort of slapstick CGI.
Star Wars. It's Star Wars.
Prequel
Anakin.
Star Wars.
Yeah, it's Anakin jumping from speeder to speeder. It's also the Hobbit jumping from in the Lair of the Goblin King, jumping from platform to platform as you continuously fall.
Of those three examples, Anakin's the best one.
It is. Oh, easily. Oh.
I love when Anakin jumps out of the speeder.
Because he has the Force.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole thing, like, this is when I start going, what am I watching? Like, I was watching a cyber noir detective movie, and now it's turned into an adventure movie. And there's this moment where, after he's jumping from car to car and the cars are on a vertical plane, he jumps off and crashes through, like, onto a balcony where there's a yoga class being taught. And everyone,
and they're all like twisted in a weird pretzel.
And everyone stays in it, and they have this very, like, it reminded me,
in 2046 yoga got weird.
Well, yoga is yoga, and this is a yoga pose, but people are people, and will react like normal people when someone crashes through a window. No one would stay in the pose. Like, people would stand up normal and, like, freak out because a guy just crashed through the window, but everyone stays in the pose, and it's very Indiana Jones, which it is a Spielberg movie, right? And he directed those movies, but it doesn't fit this movie. Like, it doesn't fit the tone.
I agree.
It doesn't fit the tone of this movie. It doesn't fit the themes of the movie. And we go from this to another Indiana Jones action sequence, and then a third one on top of that, basically.
And I think so if you're looking at this movie from, like, a storytelling perspective, the first part where they solve the first crime and all of that, that's, they're presenting they're presenting life how it is. And then when he gets accused of the crime, or when he learns that he's the one who commits the crime, that's when, the touchstone moment where everything changes.
Right.
And then deciding that he needs to go and seek out the creator of Cerebro or whatever. That's it's basically his call to action. And it's his pivot. It's the hero pivot.
Right.
This movie follows the standard story beats. Like, because you read filmography books and I read novel writing books.
Right.
This is literally beat for beat. There's a book called Save the Cat about screenwriting. This is Save the Cat, like, by the numbers. There's no twist.
He never saves a cat, though.
I know. Save the Cat's just the name of the book and the method.
Okay. So, and that's fine. I mean, actually, that's what Spielberg is good at.
I don't hate Save the Cat. Don't get me wrong, divers. I actually think formulaic storytelling can actually be super entertaining. Harry Potter, Star Wars.
Well, and this movie has what to me, what it takes to make it good cinema is that it has a message. Like it has something.
Think.
It has a viewpoint that it's trying to teach you something about society and the path that we're on.
Yeah, like when Whitwer was talking to Anderton about the morality of it, I had to stop and think, what do I think about that?
Yeah, how would I feel if this was a thing? Would I vote for it?
Yeah, I vote no.
Oh yeah, no. I'm an anarchist. This is
not an anarchist.
I'm much more of an anarchist than I am a pre-crime enthusiast or a pre-crime supporter. But anyways, my objection is not how it's using the classic hero's journey or whatever. Yeah. That's not my problem. My problem is that at this point in the movie, the tone of the movie gets silly for a good half an hour.
Yeah.
And it's not a silly movie.
And like the jetpack fight.
Yes. Okay, well, let's take the jetpack fight when we get to it because it's coming up. Anderton's on the run. Fletch goes to Lamar because everyone goes to Lamar, and Lamar tells him he wants Anderton brought in unharmed, but Whitwer barges in and asserts control. Like he's in control of pre-crime.
I'm in charge of this investigation
now.
now.
And he gets in Lamar's face like he's like, "What? You've been protecting him, and you know he's on drugs." And he's like, "His son died. What are you, a dick? Of course he's on drugs." And like
we'd all do drugs.
Yeah, you'd do it too if your son died. Come on. And he's like, "Well, maybe, but I'm in charge now. I'm taking this whole operation over."
Colin Farrell is great in this, by the way.
I love him. Yeah. Everywhere Anderton goes, he's getting retinal scanned, so he cannot hide.
Because like every advertisement addresses him by name.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Anderton.
Yeah.
How are you doing, John?
Yeah.
This is insane.
Oh, it's like, you need a new Lexus. You'd like a pint of Guinness. Like it's very like.
So don't you think maybe because The Matrix had come out so recently, maybe they shouldn't have named him Anderton? It's too close to Anderson, Mr. Anderson. I don't know.
I've been kind of wondering like what the symbolism of that name Anderton. Actually no, it's from the Philip K. Dick book.
Oh
yeah, because I actually did read the short story, and the big beats are there in the short story, but it's much smaller and it's much more about.
It's like an hour 45-minute movie.
It's not even that long of a book because it's just, and it's much more just about the system of pre-crime and how someone can fake a pre-crime. Like the big twist of the end of the movie is the whole twist of the short story, essentially.
Gotcha.
And it's a lot simpler and it has less to say, but it's still like it's a tight little sci-fi story, and they made something bigger out of it.
All right.
It's not a skipper. Philip K. Dick, he's real, and coming from me, this is saying a lot. He's very obsessed with breasts. he always describes people's breasts. He's never said what a woman's face looks like, but every woman in a Philip K. Dick story, exquisitely what their breasts look like and what they're doing.
I wonder if that's why he's so popular.
Maybe that's like, this is very relatable content.
I'm highly interested in this.
It's like, this is groundbreaking science fiction, and a lot of boobs are in it.
Yeah, this guy can write.
And so he's getting scanned everywhere. So obviously, they peg him. That's not meant to sound dirty. They don't peg him, but they identify him on the subway.
Damn it, Nick! Why are you the way that you are?
They identify him on the subway, and the Precrime squad goes in.
So why didn't he like put on some sunglasses or a veil or whatnot? Because like nowadays, like in the heavily like monitored countries like Britain and Japan and whatnot, there are people who do things to avoid that.
And he is a detective that should know all the ways to avoid it. That's a good question.
What the hell?
That's the idiot ball. Let's talk about storytelling techniques.
Yeah.
So the idiot ball is the thing that someone in the plot is carrying that's stupid that moves the plot along.
Yes.
The fact that he doesn't cover up his eyes when he knows that his eyes are getting scanned everywhere he goes, that's some idiot ball thinking. Right now, instead of wearing sunglasses, he's carrying an idiot ball.
Yeah, because they would have like mirrored shades that can't be seen through by the scanners.
Yeah. So they see him. They're feeling conflicted about arresting their boss. Fletch, pleads with him. Like he's like, please don't run. And he's like, everybody runs.
Everybody runs.
Yeah. And then
Tom Cruise trying desperately to be dramatic.
He can be dramatic though. Sometimes he's
like
really
interviewing with the vampire.
He is great in that movie. He's the best part of that movie.
Wrong. Claudia is the best part of that movie.
Fair. That's true. Claudia is the best part of that movie. He's the second best part of that movie.
All right, we agree.
Then Antonio Banderas.
Yes. And then Brad Pitt.
Are there any
or
other?
Or is it the mime? Mime better than Brad Pitt?
Are there any other vampires? Who can I put in between before Louis? Okay. So we get an exquisitely choreographed and executed, completely tonally out of sync, slapstick Indiana Jones fight sequence here.
Jetpack fight.
It's a jetpack fight where they're going all over these apartment blocks. They're going in through apartments and having weird montages where like
smashing people's dinner tables.
Yeah, and the flames from the jetpack grill the hamburgers.
Yeah. Oh my God. When I saw the jetpack grill the hamburgers that were already on the grill and see them sizzling, I was like, what the fuck are they doing?
It's so weird. It's so out of sync with the movie. This is like...
It's not noir.
It's not
slapstick.
Noir. Yeah, like...
That's the sort of thing you see in Tom and Jerry.
Very much. It's very cartoony. And it's all well executed because of Steven Spielberg, and he's a great filmmaker. He shoots the shit out of it. Everything's perfect. All the stunts come off. It all works. Technically, it works. But for the movie, it's horrible.
In my notes, I simply say, this chase scene is kind of weird and clumsy.
But it's not, though. It's not clumsy at all.
By that, I mean it does not fit.
It doesn't fit.
There's no noir here.
It's like, well, you did this great, but it doesn't go in this movie. Like, Tom and Jerry is where jetpacks grilling hamburgers. That's cartoon shit.
Yeah.
It's not cyber noir. And we go from that sequence into another adventure movie action sequence because he gets away from all his old buddies and immediately runs into Whitwer and his federal agents
in a car manufacturing plant.
They chase him into a Lexus factory, which good job bringing the manufacturing to America.
Yeah,
but
I like Lexuses.
Yeah,
because I like Toyota.
They make a cool car too, and this
that car is dope.
It is a pretty cool car, and they have a total Whitwer and Anderton have an Indiana Jones type fist fight in a car factory on an assembly line, which that shit happens all the time in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and there are some cool moments in here.
The sonic shotgun is cool.
I was just say like the grav shotgun or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That thing is rad.
Yeah, and he does the cool cowboy thing where he flips it around.
It's Terminator 2.
Oh, yeah. Because it's the one-handed flip. Yeah.
He does the one-handed flip, whereas the lame-o guys, the agents, were using two hands on their shotguns, but not Anderton. He can one-handed operate.
And Tom Cruise is great at this sort of stuff.
This running gun is kind of his thing.
He's great at it. Colin Farrell's great at this sort of stuff. Of the three out of tone sequences, this is the best of the three.
Yeah, but I do think that the fist fight, the actual fight, this is kind of some bad. I won't say bad. Just vanilla choreography. Could we get somebody from Hong Kong? Can we get someone better than this? That's
not the Spielberg
because
touch,
it's so boring. Like I could have choreographed that fight.
Yeah,
I'm very amateur.
It's the he's got the bare knuckle boxing
Dukes
stance.
Up.
Yeah.
All right, I shall also put fisticuffs up.
That's totally what it is. He kisses his little thing because he's Irish
and he's about to fight.
Yeah, and it's very Spielberg. It's not very noir, like you said. But mercifully, it ends.
Well, it's kind of interesting. Like it looks like he gets killed by the seat going crushing him, but somehow he doesn't. So they're like walking along.
Yeah.
The assembly line watching the car that they saw Anderton in.
Yeah. Is he dead?
And they're like, and then it gets painted red, and it gets his tires put on, and all of that, and then he pops up and drives away.
Yeah. And I've never had this thought in my life. I thought, I wish John Williams hadn't done the score to this movie. I've never thought that because he is the greatest to ever do it. Like, he is so good. All of his scores, fucking Superman and Jurassic Park and Star Wars and like everything. When you hear a John Williams score, you immediately think of the movie, and it's so evocative. And I was just thinking, like, this isn't a John Williams jam. Like, this is not a John Williams type movie. This kind of movie doesn't have these sort of action sequences in it. What is going on? What happened to this movie? It's off the rails.
Mm-hmm. At this point, it's just kind of nuts. Like,
yeah.
And he drives away, and seemingly this car being fresh off the assembly line is not part of the grid, so it's not trackable.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Because they seized his car before.
Yeah. Well, that was when it was in like the auto drive thing.
Mode, yeah.
Yeah. So he's
never get an auto drive.
Never
car.
put it in auto. Well, and I think the freeways
are
have to be in auto drive because
I kind of support that.
They're doing like all this multi-level stuff, and he goes out into the country because he's going to see Heinemann. And she has a weirdo eccentric estate with all sorts of weird plants. As soon as he goes over the fence, he gets attacked by poisonous vines.
And they're like moving like snakes and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, is this fucking Hogwarts?
It's very Hogwarts, and she's very Hogwarts.
Yeah, she's like okay. So I can't remember the name of the professor who worked in the greenhouse, but
is it Grundle?
I don't know, but
that seems Hogwartsy.
Imagine if that professor was sour as shit and annoying.
Yeah, I could tell Heinemann would be someone that Dave doesn't like.
She's just like super like obnoxious and a bit holier than thou.
So he limps his way into her greenhouse because he's been poisoned by these vines. And
you got stung by the such and such vines. I invented that.
Yeah.
Fuck off, nerd.
She's the mad scientist.
Yeah, okay. She's Frankenstein.
She's Frankenstein.
Okay.
And Gideon is Igor. And Wally is I don't know. In the Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, he's the guy that abuses the Frankenstein body. I guess that's Dr. Frankenstein too, now that I think about it. He's a different Dr. Frankenstein. Yeah. He's the gross one. So anyways, she makes him an antidote tea, and she info dumps on him, but in the sort of like, you're going to have to ask me riddles. Yeah. Like, she doesn't come straight ahead with anything.
What's in my pockets?
Yeah.
It's hands.
String. No, nothing.
I like that scene so much more than this scene. Rankin Bass.
Yeah.
Best there ever was.
That's true, too. R.I.P. Whichever one of them died. I don't remember.
I think it was Bass.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay. She explains, because he's like, tell me how someone could fake a prevision. And she's like, how would I know that? And he's like, well, you invented Precrime. And she's like, well, if you call blah, 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 an accident from when we were treating kids of drug addicts. And she explains like where the kids came from, how this gift isn't really a gift. It's more like a curse because of the way the neuroin affected their development. They're able to have these visions, and how her and Lamar basically were like, oh, we could use this to stop crime.
They're like, these babies have crack dreams. It's not good.
Somehow this is something we can monetize and use.
Sounds like Zuck.
We finally, after a lot of this rambling, we get to she says the precogs are never wrong. He's set on a path that's inexorably going to lead him to the murder of Leo Crow. They're never wrong, but occasionally they do disagree.
Yes.
And that's what a minority report is. 2 of them agree, that's the majority report, and the dissenting alternate future is the minority report. And Agatha is really the only one that has minority reports. It also happens to be she is the most gifted of the 3 of them. So that would lead you to think the minority report is actually the most likely to be the one that's going to happen.
He's like, which one is it? She's like, only girls have wings. Like gelflings.
Like gelflings, yeah. She's like, which one do you think? It's the girl. The girls are the best. And he's really like, this is his my life is a lie moment, because he's like, I've haloed people when they had alternate futures.
I think she's supposed to be Yoda in this movie.
Well, she does speak in riddles,
and she's in like a weird plant place, and she's
knows
about the shit.
She is a Yoda-esque character.
Yeah, if you hated Yoda.
I don't hate her, and I really like when she kisses him. I think it's really funny.
It's just a little odd.
Yeah, she's very weird. Like she's created this horrible thing and has gone off to live in seclusion. And
if I lived in that sort of weird cybertech future world, I'd live in a little, like a place out in the woods. I already kind of do.
Yeah. You're like, I don't want people scanning my eyes all the time. And if I murder someone, I don't want to be close to those kids.
Yeah, I want to bury it in my property. I have a forest for a reason.
Oh, I bet she feeds it to carnivorous plants.
Oh, yeah.
She's got he gets bit by like snaky plants. Like she has all sorts of she disposes of bodies regularly.
I want that plant.
So basically, he needs to go to the Department of Precrime, get in there, and download the minority report from Agatha.
Yeah, that's the thing that she throws out there. He's like, well, where can I get these minority reports? And she's like, well, yeah, they delete them, blah, 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 but there's a backup. Oh, where's the backup? Oh, on the kid themselves. They save them in their own brains.
I know. It's not so much a backup as just their memory.
Yeah. And when she was describing it, I was like, you mean they remember?
I know, which is another fucked up thing. If you think of when Jad told Wally, it's like, delete that. He just means the file. The kid has still got the trauma.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, he's like, delete that because we don't need to look at it anymore.
Yeah, that's gross.
Dark. So he needs to come up with a way to get past all the scanners.
Mm-hmm. We get a short little quick.
We go back to Precrime.
Whitwer, he's flexing his power.
Yeah.
There is no movement of the plot except for we now learn Whitwer is really in charge.
Yeah, he's doing the conducting thing. He's got the gloves on.
Oh yeah,
and he's going through the evidence. And they start making assumptions. They think Anderton, he'd be laying low in the sprawl. That's what they call the slums, because there's fewer scanners there, because there's fewer consumers, so no one bothers advertising to them. They're like, these people are poor, so we don't push Lexuses on them. And Officer Knott, played by Patrick Kilpatrick, he's got it out for Anderton now. He really wants to
because he got shamed in the jetpack fight. He got used and abused.
He's taken it personally, and while Whitwer is sitting down at Anderton's desk,
was that guy in Full Metal Jacket? Like,
he's in a lot.
He's in a lot of.
He's in a lot of stuff. His IMDb is too long to look at. While Whitwer's sitting there at the desk, he finds one of the data cards. And he sees a picture of Anderton's wife or ex-wife. And he's like, where's she? Because he might go there.
Yeah.
Cut back to Anderton. He's gone to see the Ripper Doc.
Yeah, Ripper Doc straight out of Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. Except for this is 2002. So.
Well, I mean, the Cyberpunk stuff's way before this anyway.
That's true too. The old role-playing game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's gone to see the Ripper Doc to get new eyes. They're in like a scuzzy apartment. There's an old movie being projected on the walls called The House of Bamboo. It's a noir movie.
Well, and this actor, Peter Stormare.
Yeah, we want the money, Lebowski.
He's so good. Like, I love this guy.
He's like Max Van. There's a lot of great character actors in this.
Yeah, they really
when I see him, well, I always say, we want the money, Lebowski. That's the first thing I say. And then I think, I love this guy. I like when he was the devil in Constantine. Mm-hmm. I love when he shows up.
Yeah, you know that some weird shit's about to happen. You don't hire him to be like friendly dad.
Yeah. Or American Gods, where he's Chernobog.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, and he wants to smash you with his hammer.
Yeah, he is creepy as fuck in that role. Yeah, I think this guy is super good.
Yeah. He's a great character actor. He's got a bad cold. Lamar also had a bad cold. It's sort of like it's like the cold is an indicator of people you're not supposed to trust, basically.
It's like a primordial instinct to stay away from sick people.
Yeah, this guy he's got a corruption or whatever. Yeah. Without warning, he injects Anderton with the anesthetic, and he kind of Anderton gets mad about it because you don't
always trick your patients.
Yeah, it's just like, well, probably. Yeah, probably you do. He's got a Swedish assistant named Miss Van Eck.
With this big weird
mole on her face. Yeah. She's very handsy with John, just like the Dr. Heineman was. Like, people just can't keep their hands off him. If you get Tom Cruise, you just want to squeeze his butt and kiss him, I guess.
Yeah.
And it comes out while they're strapping him into the Ludovico machine from Clockwork Orange that this doctor, he arrested him before. Anderton had arrested him and sent him to jail for making torture porn from his customers.
Yeah, he's like, it was a performance piece.
Yeah, because he was like a plastic surgeon that would film burning the people that he was working on.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
Yeah, I guess you film it and then you fix them. Like it's grim. Whatever he was doing was grim, and he went away for a while. And you understand he's going to enjoy carving this guy's eyes out. Like, it's a sadistic thing.
It surprised me that he actually completed the surgery. That he just didn't.
He does it.
Maim him and leave him there.
He does it. Yeah, I thought for sure that was going to happen.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't do anything outside of what he says he's going to do.
Yeah, and John is like, okay, I want you to leave me my eyes because I want to keep them. It's like, you can't use them for anything. He's like, leave me my eyes.
Yeah, he's like, my mother gave them to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
he does rig up, a rope to the bathroom and a rope to the fridge, and then there's like rotten milk and rotten food in the fridge.
But they also left him
good food.
But he just can't find it because he can't see.
And they did that on purpose. They're just shitty.
I see. I think what happens is some people don't make it. And
that's just the food from the last dude.
And that's the food from people that did not ever get to eat it.
Huh.
I think I don't believe him when he says these are sanitary conditions that he's working in.
God, no.
And I don't think everyone makes it.
It's like if you're getting a tattoo in someone's garage, it's probably not the best spot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. We do a quick cutaway over to Anderton's ex-wife's house. Mm-hmm. And Whitwer is kind of interrogating her and pressing her about John's attempted suicide.
Dick to her. She's just a civilian.
This is the moment where I feel like he's the most out of line in the whole movie. Because he's really like he's dredging up shit and trying to get her to kind of turn on John. And she's just like, I didn't leave him because he was suicidal. I left him because I couldn't deal with seeing him. Because when I looked at him, I see our son.
Yeah, and I don't even know why she's talking to him. Like, first of all, why did she let him in the house? Second of all, why is she talking to him without her lawyer?
Because no one has civil liberties in this world.
That is just divers. Get your lawyer.
Yeah. Don't let the police in without a warrant. Don't consent to a search.
Just get a lawyer.
Am I being detained? Am I being arrested? What crime am I accused with? Just get this stuff. Get it in your mental speed dial for when you're in these situations.
Yeah. Okay. She never should have talked to that guy.
No. But she's another cop truster too, because she's another person that goes straight. She's one of the people that goes straight to Lamar too.
That's true. That's true.
So back at the Ripper,
think she has like a Punisher skull tattoo. Anderton does. You know that.
You'd know he does. Yeah. No. Knox. Knox definitely has a Punisher tattoo.
He probably has a fresh Punisher skull tattoo and a really old Tasmanian devil tattoo.
So back in the shitty apartment.
I low-key want to get a Tasmanian devil tattoo.
Diver Sam has a Tasmanian devil tattoo.
Oh, he's cool.
Yeah.
He has a lot of cool tattoos, though.
I think you can have any tattoo if you have cool tattoos.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, if you only have one tattoo and it's terrible, everyone just thinks you have bad taste.
Yeah.
But if you have lots of cool tattoos and some of them are a little questionable, it's like, oh, that one's cool because it's weird.
Yeah, because it's a joke.
Yeah. So Ripper Doc gives him the aftercare instructions. He can't take the bandages off for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Sets a timer. If you take them off before 12 hours, you'll go blind. Mm-hmm. He gives him a rope that goes to the refrigerator and a rope that goes to the toilet. Puts a sandwich and the milk in there, like we said, and he gives him a little injectable with a paralytic enzyme.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Here's a biological disguise, just in case you need it.
Yeah.
I hate you.
And here's a bag of your eyes because you wanted them, and he leaves.
He was way nicer than I thought he would have been.
I think it's just like the people that he burned for his videos. I think
he did fix them afterwards.
Yeah, I think the pleasure is in the mutilation or whatever, but he wants to keep performing his job.
He did kind of do him dirty by giving him a Japanese dude's eyes so that every time he's scanned, he's called Mr. Yakamoto. He's
true.
Clearly not a Yakamoto.
That is true. It's not a great disguise. And by not cleaning out the fridge, so that there was
definitely did him dirty on a few ends.
Yeah. So he leaves, and he gives him a Neuroin puffer too. So so he gets the Mask of Zorro is playing up on the wall. He takes a hit of the Neuroin and has a flashback dream to when he lost Sean, and we see they were at the public pool playing How Long Can You Hold Your Breath. And while he was underwater, Sean got abducted.
This scene was too long.
It's pretty long. You need something like this.
I don't think you actually need a scene about how the son was lost, because you already had the scene earlier on where you establish the son and how you loved him or whatever. Mm-hmm. The son is actually completely unimportant.
Yeah.
He could have simply died of natural causes. Or been, or I don't know, like
he has to die from crime for him to become a crime fanatic.
He could have been jokered, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. I don't think this scene was needed, and also, I hate child actors. He was bad, dude.
The kid is pretty bad. In all, this is actually the kid's best scene, because the stuff about how do I run fast like you, Dad, and that stuff is all really bad. The how long can a whale hold its breath? That's real kid questions. Kids ask you stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I've never heard a kid say how do I run like you. Like it's this scene to me that I don't disagree because I'm looking for scenes to cut, but this one didn't bother me.
Okay.
Anyways, Anderton wakes up screaming Sean. There's still there's still several hours left on the timer, and
He's like, man, my kid I just relived my kid's disappearance in a drug haze. I better go get a drink of milk. He goes over to the fridge and drinks rotten milk. He's like, gross, guys.
This, and we didn't mention
I
it.
was just like, what the fuck am I watching right now?
This at least tonally fits the movie. This is not even. There's another vomit scene earlier in the movie that we brushed over in the jetpack fight where he hits the guy with the taser in the throat and he throws up on the other guy. So this is the second projectile vomiting in this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he drinks the water out of the eyeball cooler. He takes a bite of a maggot-filled sandwich, then washes it down with green milk.
Ugh.
He throws up everywhere, drinks more eyeball cooler water.
And he lays down, and then
Cops
this
ominously
is a Fox flick.
Yeah, Cops ominously plays on the TV. They have not changed that show at all.
I think they still haven't, right?
No, I think that's an iconic theme song.
It's just like, let's watch people get abused
by the police,
law enforcement,
and they show his face because he's America's Most Wanted right now.
Yeah.
Not to cross two different shows. And as that's foreshadowing because the pre-crime cops are just checking all of the buildings in the sprawl, and they go into this building. They scan it. There's 27 hot bodies in the building, and they release 8 robotic spiders to go around and scan everyone's eyes.
And these are extremely Matrixy.
Yes, they are very Matrixy.
Like the robot spiders and the squid bot things. Like this is homage.
This scene is very creepy.
Yeah.
Like this is the sort of stuff I think Spielberg's really good at. And to me, it's one of the most disturbing scenes because of the way, like, as the spiders go around and scan everyone's eyes to identify them. Like you see scenes with like mothers like comforting their kids while their kids are getting scanned. There's a couple that's fighting and they stop fighting so the thing can scan them. There's a couple having sex, same thing. Like these people are so used to the police just rolling in and sending robots into their apartments to come through and scan their eyes. And, a few people protest and like shame them or whatever, but no one resists because there's no point in it. And John, he kind of stuffs up the hole in the apartment that the spiders would come through, and then fills up a bathtub with cold water, dumps the ice in, and basically tries to avoid the heat sensors of the robots.
He's a cop. He knows how.
He knows what they do. Yeah, and they announce it to the apartment building. This is the Department of Precrime, and we're sending scanners into your apartments.
Yeah, and he's underwater, and then a little blurble of air comes out,
and the spider's just about to leave, and then there's the pop, and the spider comes back, and it's up on the edge of the tub, and it zaps the tub, so he has to come out.
This reminds me of the movie Batteries Not Included. The little bots.
Yeah, the little robots.
And the shitty rundown buildings and stuff. It's kind of like that.
They do have, there's a little bit of that. Yeah, that's a good pull. Yeah, I can see that. Basically, the robot has to scan his eye. He doesn't want to get his eye out because he's going to go blind. But it pulls up the bandage, scans the eye. It's Mr. Yakamoto. It's not John Anderton. And so the robots leave. And
cops can stand down.
Cops can stand down. They don't have to bust the door. They can go get noodles and move on.
Yeah, and so it's weird. Basically, like, I like this scene setting, like how it sets up how dystopian the future is, how police state it is.
The movie's tonally back on track now.
Yeah.
And what was there was I thought more would come from him taking the bandage off early. I was like,
me too. Like, why didn't it fuck up your eye?
I told Lisa, I was like, it's like Odin. He has to give up his eye for knowledge.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, this is symbolism. This is cinema. This is filmmaking. No, never
nothing.
mind. Never revisited. The eye's
it
fine.
was nothing. Like, I have that in my thing. It's like the spider shocks him and they read his eye and it's all messed up. What's going to happen? Nothing.
Yeah. We just
never comes back to it. The whole, don't take the bandage off for 12 hours or your eyes or you'll go blind. That was a lie.
I guess it was. Yeah, I guess.
Nonsense.
Anyways, Whitwer's still analyzing the prevision, and he's identified there's another person in it. There's a female in the room.
Yeah.
And then we cut to outside the office of Precrime. Anderton's showing up. We hear
he's like, I'm going back to work. I'm going back to the scene.
There's a tour guide just kind of info dumping about Precrime.
Mm-hmm.
So the program began in 2046, and now 9 years later, the District of Columbia is the safest city in America. Sure.
Okay.
And John hits his face with the injector, and everything goes loosey-goosey.
Yeah,
and
he's
all
all like gnarly.
He's got a saggy baggy face, and he goes in through the back door because he knows all the ways, and pulls one of his old eyeballs out of the bag, and we get one.
So here's what should have happened. He holds it up to the thing, and it goes, access denied, and then the cops are aware that he's there because there's a 0% chance that they would not have revoked all of his access.
I agree with you.
That's a huge plot hole.
He needs to get in the room. And
why didn't he like beat up a cop, hold his head up to the thing, and then go in? It's more plausible.
Okay.
Or catch Wally, go into the bathroom, steal Wally's access card, or like
it's all eyes.
Like walk him up, hold him by the hair, and hold him up to the thing. Like there's like a million ways we could riff on this for literally 5 minutes and come up with a way better plot device.
But it wouldn't use his eyes.
It's my mom gave him to.
Yeah, it's about the symbolism of the eyes that we keep coming back to.
Mm-hmm.
Or not symbolism, but the theme of eyes. It's to get that theme in there again. We get one. This is the last, thankfully, weird slapstick moment where he drops the eyes and chases them
and they're
down the
rolling
ramp.
down the ramp and into a grate.
Yeah.
And he's chasing them.
Yeah, like he's like, oh shit, chasing the eyes. And it's like, oh man, we're doing this again. It's turned into that movie. But mercifully, it doesn't stay on that track.
This would never have happened to Deckard.
That was another thought I had. And I think it's because of there's so many Indiana Jones type sequences. Mm-hmm. I thought this is supposed to be a Harrison Ford movie. Like,
oof. Could you even do that though? Like after he was in Blade Runner?
No, I don't think you could. Because then you're going to be
movie.
You're going to be compared too directly to Blade Runner, which no one really is going to want to do.
No.
So, anyways, let's get back on track.
Okay.
He catches his eye before it goes down the drain. He scans the thing. He gets in. Wally doesn't recognize him because he's still got saggy face. He locks the door and tells Wally. He talks to Wally. He's like I've always liked you and I really don't want to have to hit you hard or something.
Oh, it's you, boss.
And it's like, oh, it's you. And so he says he wants to get the information out of Agatha. He wants the Minority Report. Mm-hmm. And I did just brush over that the Wally was brushing Agatha's teeth when he goes in there, and he's being very intimate with her. He's very face to face with her, like doing the toothbrush in her mouth and the whole thing. I was like, you're getting real close to the line here, Wally. I know you have to clean their teeth, but it shouldn't be so sensual looking. Like,
could you scowl a little? Could you not?
Could you
like
do
it?
this more medically and less sensually? Because
yeah. Could you imagine if you went in for like a cleaning at the dentist and they're like face to face with you and they're like, "Don't worry, Wally's got you."
Oh man,
it's like fuck. Get away.
You know, I had a dentist, Dr. Lee. I wouldn't mind if Dr. Lee had cleaned my teeth like that. I would have probably been like, "Oh, this is weird," but I'm into it. My current dentist, I wouldn't like it if he did
This
that.
is service.
Nothing against my current dentist. I like his sardonic attitude. I just wouldn't want him to centrally clean my teeth. Okay. Let's get back on track.
Serious. This is a very serious podcast. We only do serious things. Minority Report is a serious movie.
At times it is. And
Tell me more about a jetpack fight and then, anyway.
And so he, at the same time, Whitwer figures out that Agatha is the female in the report.
In the report, yeah.
And so he's like, he's going to come here and abduct her. Turn around. He's abducting her right now.
Right now, behind my back.
Yeah. And so he shoots out the window, barges in there. Tom Cruise thinks on his feet, hits the flush button, and flushes him and Agatha out of the system.
I did kind of like that.
Yeah.
I did like that there's a flush button.
Yeah.
Seems like there would be.
And Wally's not pleased. He's very traumatized because he has got a creepy relationship with this comatose girl.
He's like, oh, my coma girlfriend.
Yeah. She can never reject me. Ugh. And then, like, you know, Wally's freaking out.
I hope Wally's an incel. Because the alternative
is now you've gone over a line.
Then I'm hoping for Agatha's bodily autonomy. Jeez.
No. Well, she has none already.
I'm wishing that she did.
I wish she did too. Yeah, and I wish that while I hope inappropriate toothbrushing is all the worst.
Is the extent of it?
Yeah. I'd rather that didn't happen, but hopefully that's the end of it. Anyways, Wally freaks out and he tells Whitwer, because Whitwer's like, why would he take her? And he says, why? Because now he can kill anyone he wants. And we'd never know.
It doesn't work.
Because the whole system hinges on her. The other two are useless without her.
Don't forget, we're going national. It all hinges on one girl.
Yeah, I mean, Wally must not know about the army of drug-addled children that they must have to go national.
I know, and he would be so stoked.
Think of all the teeth.
Could you imagine just him walking into like some underground lair with a bunch of vat kids? He'd be like...
He just comes out with the Oral-B.
He would just be in heaven.
I don't want to see that movie.
That is really some Minority Report weird fanfic.
Okay, so there's 51 minutes on the timer until Anderton murders Crow.
And there was actually 51 minutes left in the movie exactly.
Oh, really?
No, they're not that clever.
Okay, that'd be kind of cool. I bought it. You should have stuck to that.
Oh man, I knew you'd buy it though because you think better of them than they deserve. You want to believe.
I want to believe in Spielberg, and he gives me a lot to believe in through
because he's pretty good. That's the thing. Like, no one's ever said like a lot of people said Spielberg's trash. I don't think he's trash. He makes pretty good movies, but there's a lot of flaws here.
Yeah. When this movie hits, it's hitting great, and I really like it. But it goes off the rails, and I just have a hard time coming back. But this is, to me now, we're in the good part of the movie.
We're in the climax of the movie.
Yeah, it's a long climax though. He's like Sting. He prolongs his climax.
It's a very tantric.
It's a tantric movie. He has to get her. He has to get her clothes because he can't have her walking around in her weird swimsuit. So he goes to the Gap, and this is where we find out he's got Mr. Yakamoto's eyes. At the Precrime office, Whitwer is like starts. He's a good detective. He's like none of this is store-bought computer stuff. Who makes the computers?
Yeah, we later learn he was a homicide detective.
Yeah. Rufus Riley makes the computers, and Rufus Riley is basically like a cyber pimp. He works.
Yeah.
He's
like Mouse.
He's like Mouse. He's a digital pimp. He works at the place called the Cyber Parlor, and it's a VR arcade / brothel.
I do want to defend the people who go to that place, because there's a lot of people who are just like, there's one guy who's like getting congratulated by all these famous people. There's other people who are like, it's not just digital pimping.
No, that's why I said
VR arcade would be cool.
I said arcade / brothel.
Oh, okay.
It is whatever your fantasy is. They get the information.
I want to fight Commander Worf with a batleth. Could Rufus handle that?
I bet he could. I mean, just think about how much digital information there is of Michael Dorn playing that character.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? There's all sorts of footage of him from every angle you could want. It'd be very easy in their world to build a hologram of him.
They could deep fake him right now.
Yeah. So yes, you could totally like, I want to fight Worf. And they're like, do you want the Star Trek music? Yeah, of course I do.
I have the Spock and Kirk music.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. Okay. So he's talking to this guy that wants to kill his boss, and Anderton comes in, and Rufus is like, "Oh, get out of here, you dirty dog! You're the sort of person that makes the world a terrible place to live."
Yeah, because he was like, "All right, we can." Oh wait.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh no, the cops are here," and Anderton's like, "I need you to hack her mind. She's a precog," and he's like, "Yeah, sure, you brought a precog in here," and then it's like, "Oh shit, he really did."
And he like kind of worships her.
Sort of like, yeah, he's kind of groveling, and he's like apologizing for things that he's worried about she would have seen, and like just a bunch of stuff. And this guy's a real comic relief, but
she's kind of freaking out.
She's having a tough time. Like, she had asked him earlier, like, is it now? And because she's been in this like drug induced semi-conscious state for so long. Being in the moment in reality is very hard for her to adjust to.
Yeah.
And so the getter, he strong arms Rufus into doing it. He doesn't want to, but he strong arms him into hacking her mind so they can pull out the Minority Report. And when he sees her prevision of the murder of Leo Crow, it isn't any different. It's the same one he's already seen.
Yeah, there is no Minority Report.
Yeah. And he's like,
shit, I do it.
Yeah, how can this be? How can there not be an alternate future where I don't kill this guy? And then she has like one of her seizures and shows the murder of Anne Lively again. And he has Rufus record it. And then she says, she comes out of the seizure and she's like, they're here, and Precrime is there at the cyber parlor.
Yeah, and the murder scene is like going in reverse. It's really interesting.
And it's, like when on my second view, because she is showing the Minority Report of that murder. Like, this is her alternate take that was scrubbed. And you can see the differences in the murders. The Majority Report and her things don't quite match up when you rewatch the movie.
Yeah.
And they escape through the mall. I'm pretty sure it's the same mall from Wonder Woman 84 in Washington, D.C. It kind of
looks like that, yeah.
And she uses her premonitions to help avoid capture.
Yeah, like stop. And then the balloon man blocks his line of sight.
Yeah, she's like, take that umbrella. This guy drops a briefcase, and she knows all the things that are going to happen.
Drop some money here. And then
the homeless guy bends down to get it.
Trips the cops.
Yeah. My favorite thing is when she stops that woman and she says, he knows, don't go home. And like, that woman's just like frozen with terror.
Shit.
Like, and we just like, you don't know anything. Like, her probably, I just go to the husband's going to murder her because that seems like usually what's happening. But it's like, he knows, don't go home. From her, it means something. And it obviously means something to that lady.
Yeah.
And then they go outside and it starts raining, and he has this moment where he knows that's why she had him take the umbrella. And it's the first time he looks at her like she's a person and not a machine.
Yeah.
And I was like, empathy established. Like, he just refound his humanity for the first time in this whole movie.
Anderton just became a character you want to root for.
Yeah, like, we're deep in the movie at this point.
And at this point, there was no one I liked until he actually became a person.
Yeah, like, his hero's journey, like, we're getting somewhere. And to me, like, the movie doesn't get its heart until she comes out of the tank. Like, she is that catalyst. Oh, she's the catalyst of the movie. That's why we start focused on her eye. But she spends more than half of the movie comatose.
Yeah. It's really it's good storytelling, I think.
It is, though. Yes. I think that is good because he's instantly humanized. You know, in humanizing her, he finds his own humanity.
Yeah.
And then he looks up and there's the man with the sunglasses. It's actually a billboard.
Yeah, it's not actually a guy standing there.
So they are at Leo Crow's apartment building.
Mm-hmm.
She's led him right there. They go in. He essentially sticks up the front desk guy to see the registry of the hotel.
And why didn't that guy pull the old, I know you're not going to kill me because Precog hasn't arrested you yet?
I don't know. I think probably because he just had a gun pointed at him and he just kind of...
He wasn't thinking about it?
And you don't tend to, especially in that kind of job, care all that much to stand up to someone pointing a gun at you. Like, if I worked at the front desk of a seedy hotel and someone pointed a gun, I'd be like, oh, that's fine. Just go.
Just do it.
Don't kill me and kill whoever you want in here. He gets the room number. He goes up to the apartment. We have a little bit of a mix-up with going into the wrong hotel room for some reason.
I don't know why that mattered.
That's skippable for sure.
Just, ugh.
But then he goes into the hotel room. Agatha starts pleading with him to not go, to leave, and to choose not to do it, to change his future. And he's like, he's too on the case to do it. And he assures her, he's like, I don't even know this guy. There's no way I'm going to kill him. I just need to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And he goes into the room, and the bed is covered in pictures of kids.
Yeah.
Abducted kids. And some of them are of Sean.
Basically Lamar's farm for drug babies.
Probably.
Yeah.
They really probably are. I never really thought, like, who are the other kids?
I assume that's where... I don't know. Was Anderton's kid taken to be a precog somewhere?
No.
Probably not. There's more
because his wife was... He didn't get hooked on the drug until after the kid was taken. And as far as we know, the wife never was.
Well, then we never get... Like, do we get solved? Like, who took the kid? Where is the kid? Like,
no. The kid's just dead.
So, like I said, none of this mattered.
Okay.
The kid arc didn't matter.
No, yeah. In the long run, no.
In the long run, no. Okay.
Okay, so he finds these pictures of Sean with Leo Crow on the bed, like photo booth pictures of his kid with this guy. And, you know, he's like, oh, this isn't a setup. I'm really going to kill this guy when he comes in here because this is the guy that took my kid, and that's why I murder him.
And that's the only thing that would ever get me to kill someone.
Yeah. And so he's like, oh, I do kill this guy, but I want to. Yeah. Like, that's sort of the situation.
I think at that point, if I were Anderton, I would have made peace with it and just killed him.
Well, that is kind of what he thinks he's going to do,
but
right?
He lets the timer count down.
Well, Crow comes in and he wants to beat it out of him first, right? Like he wants to get some of this violence out of his system before he just shoots the guy. And he wants to know if his son's alive. Yeah. Like, he has questions and stuff. And this scene is really raw. Agatha is like, she's freaking out because her prevision and reality are coming together.
They're happening.
Yeah, so she's super traumatized and she's screaming, and Tom Cruise goes bonkers. Like, he makes this crazy sound.
Yeah, like full on jumping on Oprah's couch.
Yeah, like, I was like, that's the most unhinged I've ever seen this guy, and this guy gets crazy. I was like,
he was trying to get clear, Nick.
Yeah. there is no way he didn't actually hit that guy in that sequence. Like,
you think they just had a stunt guy in there? Like,
oh yeah,
about to
and
get beat up by a really short dude.
Tom Cruise is just gonna wail on you. Is that cool? He's like, as long as the check clears. And so the timer's going down. Crow tells him this thing about how he killed Sean and put his body in a barrel and dropped him in the canal. And we get to the end of the timer, and Agatha's pleading with him. And once the timer goes off, he tearfully reads Crow his Miranda rights. And I thought, and I was like, he chose to do the right thing and get justice.
He finally made a face turn.
Yeah, and I was like, and I thought, this is the climax of the movie, and it's emotionally really effective. And
then it ended. And it was so good, right?
Right? Like, I thought, I was like, oh, wow, he did. And I just, I was feeling good about it. And then Crow is like, you're not going to kill me? I was like, wait, what? And he's like, my family won't get anything if you don't kill me. And he's like, what are you talking about? And then Crow lets the whole thing out. He's a patsy. The whole thing about abducting Sean was fake.
Made up.
The pictures of him with Sean are fake. He's someone that's in financial trouble, and he's agreed to allow this guy to murder him so his family will get a big payout. Mm-hmm. And before Anderton can get it out of him, who hired you, he's like, well, if I tell you, my family won't get anything. He grabs the gun and shoots himself.
Which is weird. I don't think there's any forensics in the world that would be like, well, I guess Anderton killed him. That just wouldn't happen.
No. Well, and to be fair, when the detectives get there, Whitwer doesn't think Anderton killed him.
Yeah.
Because Anderton just leaves the gun and they leave.
Yeah, he's like, he wouldn't kill him with his own weapon and leave it here.
Yeah. And Whitwer, because Fletch is like, well, look at all this evidence. He must have did it. And Whitwer's like, what kind of cop were you before you became Precrime? And he's like, oh, financial yada yada. He's like, I invested the banks and stuff like that. And he's like, I was a homicide detective. And
this is an orgy of evidence.
This is an orgy of evidence. You know how many orgies we found while I was working homicide? 0.
Yeah.
This is all a setup. And so, what do you do when you find a setup? You call Lamar, because he's the grandpa everyone trusts. and so he calls Lamar.
Fucking hate Lamar.
And is like, I gotta tell you all the stuff that I've uncovered. Why don't you meet me at Anderton's apartment, and I'll give you all of the evidence I've been gathering.
Why did they meet at Anderson's apartment and not the office?
I think they went to Anderton's. He wanted to go there so he could show him holograms. No,
I don't think so. I just think it was bad call.
Was there anything there that there was?
They both already had established they know he's a junkie.
Yeah, so it can't be about the drugs.
No reason to do the holograms. That's not relevant to anything.
Okay, I don't know why they went to Anderton's apartment, other than it was a convenient location for Lamar to frame Anderton for killing him.
For sure.
Yeah, because Whitwer lays the whole thing out for Lamar about how it went down, and the discrepancy in the Lively murder, and how someone could hire someone to kill somebody, let Precrime stop it, and then kill someone the way the other person was going to kill them. And
it would be an echo.
And it would seem to be an echo. And,
the tech would delete it.
The tech would delete it. And it would have to be someone high up at Precrime. And Lamar's like, well, you know what? I don't hear anyone banging down the door. And you know why they're not? Because Agatha's not in the pool. And that means I can kill you and no one will know.
Boom.
And shoots him. And Danny's like, I never thought of you as a suspect. and he shoots him with Anderton's gun, shoots him twice, and then he leaves. And Anderton takes Agatha to his ex-wife's cottage, and she calls Lamar. She's like, John's here, and he's got the precog.
Yeah, God damn. She was like, hold on. She checks her Punisher tattoo, and she then calls the top cop.
Everyone trusts Grandpa. Like, he's really good at playing people. And so they get there. He's really shook up by this whole thing. Like, he knows it's all set up, but he doesn't know who's setting him up.
Yeah.
And he finally kind of gets that this was never about him and Leo Crow. This was always about solving Anne Lively's murder. That's why Agatha got him. And he goes up to Agatha's up in Sean's room, and it's really sad. She gives the Minority Report for Sean's life that didn't happen.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And like, I was like, God damn, this is tough. And Tom Cruise like breaks down and he cries and he's like, I just want him back. And Agatha says, that's all she wanted too, is she wanted her little girl back. And he's like, did she die? And he says, no, she didn't die, but she's not alive. And it's like, oh shit, Agatha's,
you're the girl.
You're the little girl. You want us to solve your mother's murder. And we finally got it. But then it's too late.
The cops are there.
Because Precrime's there. Yeah, because she's like, I'm sorry, John, you have to run again. And she yells run, and it's very creepy. And then everyone comes in, and they halo John, and they arrest him for the murder of Leo Crow and Danny Whitwer. And right before he goes comatose in the halo, he's like, oh, I didn't kill that guy.
Yeah, and then they put Agatha back into the precog system. They're like, get back in here, you little rascal. Like when your cat gets out.
It's just like that. Just like how when you lay your cat down into the pool and gently kiss it on the lips.
Wally crossing lines.
Yeah, that was when Wally...
That was
when the toothbrush was the way he talked to her was weird. The toothbrush was creepy. This was over the line because he kissed her on the mouth.
But he missed her.
Are we supposed to sympathize with Wally? Because John tells him that he likes him, and Wally likes sometimes in these movies, I don't know what the director thinks about a character when it's like, you're like, this guy's a creep that's abusing kids. And you're like, but I feel like he's sympathetic, but I don't feel sympathy for him.
Yeah, it's like, is Spielberg trying to make a really complicated demonstration of how you can empathize with a child abuser? Like, why?
I just think it's the sort of thing where it's like
he just didn't think this through.
No, well, here's I'll present a couple theories, and we'll never know which one's true. One, the guy playing Wally did it in the moment because he felt like that's what Wally would do, and Spielberg was like, "Oh, that's good. We're leaving it in." Wally's that kind of creep. Or he was directed to do it because Spielberg felt that's what this guy would do. He would kiss the girl.
I think either way, it's cut.
Either way, it's a cut. We don't want it. I didn't like it. I mean, I didn't like seeing it, so...
oh, my God. So let's just go back. Like, let's see the Minority Report. I go, either way, cut. And then Nick goes, I really like that.
That's the minority. That's the Majority Report is like, yeah, cut that. That's gross. The Minority Report, you know what? I actually really like that scene. You go, yeah, me too.
Yeah, don't leave me out.
Delete that one.
Oh.
Okay. We're in this prolonged climax. Like at this point, the movie's really rattling along.
Sting is like, I'm starting to get bored, mate.
Department of Containment. John gets put into the system by Gideon, and he says, "They say you have visions, that your life flashes before your eyes, that all your dreams come true." I don't think that's true because they're constantly showing them the murders.
Yeah, I think that's nonsense.
I don't think you have any sort of good visions when you just have not the worst moment of your life, the worst moment of your life that never happened. You know what I mean?
You didn't do that.
You didn't actually do it, but you're constantly getting bombarded with.
It was dreamed up by a person on drugs.
That's true. And so we cut over to Lamar, and he's back in grandpa mode. And, you know, storytelling wise, when Laura walks in, he comes at her with his in his like mea culpa, and is like, "This is all my fault." And it's like oh, it's like a confession, but it's a pseudo confession.
Yeah.
And he's getting dressed in his old dress uniform and doing I just need to make sure it still fits. You know, and Precrime's going national, so the initiative passed, and he's going to be in charge of the whole thing. And you know, I wanted this to be John, but now I'm going to do it in John's memory. And
it kind of seems like Lara knows that Burgess is a fraud at this point. She detects some bullshit.
She is detecting bullshit, and then the final straw, because she starts asking him, you know, she's like, John was saying all this stuff about the Anne Lively murder, and this is a setup, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, she's tying his bow tie for him because he's pretending to not know how to tie one. He's like, you know what? I'll go down to see Gideon, and I'll look if there's any unsolved drownings. And she's like, I never said that she got drowned. And then Lamar stands up, grandpa face drops off.
Yeah.
Sinister murder face comes on. He goes, I'll come by and see you at the cottage tomorrow. And it's like, he just basically said, you live outside the range of these kids, and I'm going to come murder you. So see you tomorrow. So Laura goes into the box of John's stuff, gets his gun, and does a jailbreak.
And she's like, oh, shit. John's eyes. I can use these to do anything. Fuck yeah.
These are the skeleton key for every system because they never deleted him. Yeah. And so...
What a weird plot device that was. And
eyes in a bag?
But it works twice now, and it never should have worked at all.
You know, I think they just didn't bother deleting him because first of all, he'd be crazy to come back while he was still out. So they didn't delete him then because they just assume he's not coming. And they didn't delete him now that he's in the system because he's trapped in an inhumane prison for the rest of eternity.
It's not even that they get deleted. It's just that, like, at any tech job or any job at all, as soon as you're not employed or whatever, all of your shit just gets frozen.
Right.
Like, you can't access your old email account even.
Right.
Let alone security to get through. I don't know, whatever. I'm not gonna. It's just a plot hole.
Yeah, and we're almost there. Sting, hold on, Sting, just a little bit longer, buddy. And so Lamar's having a press conference. He's going to be the head of National Precrime. They've given him this Civil War gun that was given to Civil War generals after the war with little gold bullets in it. It's very cute. He's very touched by the whole thing. And then he gets the phone call. The assistant brings him the Bluetooth, and it's John Anderton's voice. And he starts explaining everything. He knows all the stuff.
He mansplains the whole thing.
He mansplains the whole thing to him.
And for the ladies out there, that's when a man explains things to you.
And Lara calls Jad and tells him basically, John needs your help. Broadcast the murder of Anne Lively into this press conference.
And Jad is like, okay, because that's my line. I always say okay.
I do whatever I'm asked.
By anyone, even a civilian.
I'm good, reliable Jad. And he starts playing the murder of Anne Lively in front of the press conference crowd who, clutch their pearls exquisitely. They're like, everyone's like, oh my God. Like they're and
then when they see that it's Burgess, they're like, what?
Yeah, that's when everyone freaks. The man we're here to honor. And so just then, Lamar decides to murder John. And triggers a red ball to drop down. And he goes stalking after him with this little antique pistol. And they're kind of they don't see each other. Like they're in the back kitchen of this place, and he mentions, his son Sean and how he used him to get him to do whatever he wanted. And he's like, "Don't ever say his name." And they have they have their confrontation, and Lamar has a real Sophie's choice to make, because he can either kill John and get haloed and put into the containment system, or
prove that Precrime was great.
Yeah, that Precrime worked, but he's not in charge of it.
Yes.
Or he cannot kill John, but that proves that the system is fallible, and it's going to get shut down.
Yeah.
And so Lamar kills himself.
Yeah, and he basically ends Precrime as we know it.
Yeah, he kind of begs forgiveness as he's dying. The Precrime cops drop in just moments too late from their fire spray gunship, and then we get the ending montage. We see the Precrime experiment was abandoned in 2054. All the prisoners were unconditionally pardoned and released, although the police department keeps track of a lot of them for years.
They definitely didn't get reparations or anything.
No, I don't. There's no discussion of compensation.
Nothing.
Just unconditional pardons. John and Lara got back together. And she's pregnant again. And the precogs, they got to go live out their life in a peaceful cabin far away from any murders, so they won't have disturbing visions.
Yeah, it was really interesting as it panned out. The cabin is on, it looks like an island, and the landscape made me think like Alaska,
I thought Alaska,
Panhandle or anything.
I thought Alaska too.
Did you notice that in the water of the bay, it kind of it looked like a big eye?
Oh no, I missed that.
No, it wasn't there.
God damn it, Dave!
That should have happened.
God damn it, Dave! Stop telling me things you discovered in the movie that weren't there.
Damn. See, that would have been cool, wouldn't it?
That would have been kind of cool. You had me, because I thought it looked like Alaska. I wonder where Dave thought it looked like. And then you said that you thought it looked like Alaska, and I was like, all right, we're in sync. And then you said the eye thing, and I was like, oh man,
how did I miss that?
How did I miss the eye thing? You hooked me with Alaska, and then gave me the eye.
That would have been too cool.
All right, what worked for you?
Shit. Okay, so I actually thought the story was good.
Yeah.
I like the story in general. I often rail in a lot of my reviews, or whatever these are.
Deep dives.
Where I say that the story is simplistic and linear and blah, blah, blah. This is a counterexample of that. It's not extremely linear. There are some twists. There are some things like where you're guessing,
and there's dead ends too.
There's some threads there that never get pulled. Like we never really know what happened to Sean.
He definitely died, but
how and where and who and why, and like what about the rest of the precog kids who like, if they were going to go national. So there's a lot out there. This was an interesting story that I thought was, it left me wanting more. Like I wanted to know like what else.
There is a TV show.
I never watched it. Probably never will.
Yeah.
So I just think that was the strength. I think the story was the strength. What about you? What worked for you?
So I think the themes of the movie are really strong, and they really resonate because we are like surveilled, and we're scanned, and we get the intrusive targeted ads. So I think the world of 2022 looks a lot like the future that's portrayed in this movie in 2002. I think he took Philip K. Dick's short story, which is just kind of like interesting sci-fi detective story whodunit thing, and made it into a grand philosophical question for the 21st century. And I think that's really cool, and that's why this movie has stuck around, is because it asks important questions.
Yeah, it makes you think.
Yeah. I think Samantha Morton, that played Agatha, gives an incredible performance. Like, I really think she's great, and half of the movie she's unconscious. Like, so so it's like once she gets out of the tank and she acts her ass off, like she's awesome. And I think Spielberg's film craft is really good. Like, he's just really good at composing scenes and putting the themes into them and shooting a movie. He movies all over the place, is what I said.
Jeez, but come on.
When the movie's in its groove, it's really good.
So 60% of the time, it works every time.
That's a generous number. What didn't work for you?
First of all, it was long.
It's very long.
It was too long. There were a lot of scenes I would have cut. Like, I missed my calling as an editor.
Cut this. You don't need this. Tighten this up.
This is garbage. This leads nowhere. No one cares about that. Doesn't matter. You already established this, and they just needed that. Like, someone.
But no one does that to a Spielberg.
Someone needs to tell Spielberg to tighten his shit up.
Yeah.
And
then go to Peter Jackson's house afterwards.
My God. Oh man, just go there with a hatchet.
Yeah.
So like, I think that it was just too long and too sprawly and too rambly. A lot of shots, like, it almost seemed like gratuitous that they just kept lingering and lingering. Like, oh, now let's put on the second home movie.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then I just felt like sometimes this movie felt extremely futuristic, and then sometimes it just didn't feel futuristic at all. Like, it didn't stick the mood. Like, it didn't make me always feel like we're in 2046 or whatever. And I know I always call back to Blade Runner, but I always felt like I was in the future in that movie.
Blade Runner never breaks immersion.
It's so good. Like,
Not
that's
once.
why it's the bar. And in The Matrix, I never think I'm in 2022 in that movie.
Yeah.
Even in The Matrix, it feels weird and it feels a little plastic. Like, this movie, though, there's just a lot of shit. Like, when they go out to the cabin or whatever, or when they go to the Hogwarts greenhouse or whatever, it's like, that shit's not legitimate.
Okay.
Just because you parked a futuristic Lexus outside didn't make it the future.
But what about the GMO plants that stab you or kiss you or bite you?
Yeah. So I just feel like in opposition to what you said, I feel like the storytelling here with regards to the setting and the genre was just, it was shabby.
Okay.
So what about you? What didn't work?
I'm going to retread a lot of what you just said. The bizarre tonal shift to an Indiana Jones-esque adventure movie in the second act totally pulls me out for probably 20 to 30 minutes of the film. There's a big flabby chunk where I'm like, what happened to this movie? This is a different movie. And
that was your nickname in high school.
What happened to this movie?
No, big flabby chunk.
Woof.
Just kidding. Like, when you said that, I was like, that's not perfect. That was my nickname in college. Anyway, sorry. I interrupted your serious criticism. This is serious business.
Not coincidentally, the movie is 20 to 30 minutes too long.
Yeah.
So it's like the amount of stuff in the movie I don't like and the amount of overrun time of the movie are about the same. So I'm just like, cut that shit out. Like you said, edit this. It needs an editor because the good parts are so good, but the movie is not. I didn't want to rewatch it. You know what I mean? Like, I watched it once and I was like, that was a weird movie. And when it was time to sit down and watch it again, I was like, oh, sit through this long ass movie again.
So long. Like, that was funny because when I said, I'm about to sit down and watch this movie, you're like, yeah, that's a long ass movie.
And you feel how long it is. You know,
you really
sometimes
do.
a long movie, you go, wow, I didn't know that was 3 hours. That's crazy. This movie's 2.5 hours and you're like, oh, this feels like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
And then finally, I hate the color grading. They do this thing where the colors are all desaturated and toned way down, except for the whites are over brightened.
Yeah.
And especially when they're outdoors, it's hard to look at. Like when they go to his wife's cabin, the lens flare off the sun whites out the whole screen a couple of times, and I was like, fuck, it's like actually looking at the sun. It's so bright.
I mean, they did that on purpose.
It's on purpose, but I hate it. And like,
yeah,
what's the effect you're trying to give? Like, I guess it makes it dreamlike. You know, we've said that a few times, so it must be the intent. But it's just wrong for the movie. Like, it's anti-noir. You know what I mean?
It's the opposite of noir.
It's blanc. It's like it's the movie is so white that it's blinding at times. And so I hate that. Should not have done it.
Yeah, this is a no-go.
All right. Now the hard part. What do you rate this movie?
It's between stars. It really is. I mean, here's the thing. There was some really good writing in this movie, and there was some really good character acting, like the Ripper Doc, the side cyber cops, like Agatha. I'm even down with Boss Man Lamar. Great performance, and I was just like, man, there's a lot to like here. There is like a pile of good stuff, but then there's also just like oof, I'm glad this is over.
Yeah.
You never should say I'm glad this is over if that's a good movie. But I'm not going to totally crap on it. I just think this is probably a 3-star movie.
Yeah. I've talked myself up to the 4 and then back down to the 3. Going through it with you, I've probably come back to the 3 as I've had time to... I did like it more on my second watch through, but the problems are so glaring, and just honestly what I think of it, I do think it's a 3-star movie, but that puts us wildly out of sync with the consensus on this movie.
I mean, a bit. Like IMDb gives it a 7.7, which is almost a 4. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 90, but fuck Rotten Tomatoes. It's highly sus. They never have accurate readings. Metacritic gives it an 80. So, I mean, I think probably this is probably 4 as per the standard, like the people, but nah, they're not looking with a critical eye, and they're not comparing it to other 4-star movies. Yeah. They're looking at things in isolation. I try to look at the landscape. Okay. This can't hold up with other 4-star movies. It's not a 2-star movie either.
No, it's not, because it's like... It's got 5 moments and 2 moments. Yeah. And that it has enough 2 moments to pull it down to a 3.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is I basically came in to this is a 3.5 star movie. Like, I was talking to Carrie about that, and I was just like, I just can't give it a 4 because I did not actually walk away from it like loving it. I walked away from this thinking, Philip K. Dick is a hell of a writer.
Yeah, I'll give you that. The whole collection of short stories that this is in, and We Can Remember It For You, which is the basis for Total Recall. Okay. Those are all just great little sci-fi stories. Like, I don't know, do sci-fi magazines still exist, like in the 40s? Oh yeah, like Amazing Stories and stuff. Is that still a thing? Because
I don't know. They became comic books,
I guess. Yeah, those tight little sci-fi stories, that's an art form. And like you know, Dick and God, who am I thinking of? The ornery guy that gets credit for writing the Predator, or not the Predator, the Terminator.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm spacing on his name, but there was a lot of guys that wrote these sci-fi short stories that really still are influential. Yeah. And I just don't know if there's a place that people publish stuff like that anymore.
Probably the internet.
Yeah, just self-publish. It's on LiveJournal.
Yeah, it's definitely on LiveJournal. All right, so let's just take a quick break, come back, and have our closing statement.
Welcome back, divers. It's time for our final segment, the one where I ask Dave, what are you into right now?
I'm going to keep this short and sweet.
We probably should.
I'm into stand-ups comedy specials right now.
Oh, okay. You're always into this.
I am always, but recently I've watched like 7 or 8.
Oh, wow.
Because a bunch of the pandemic, like all of it stopped, so there was like a drought,
Right.
and then since it started back up again, like there's been just a bunch of them released all at once. So I just want to highlight 3 of them. This one was self-released on his YouTube channel, Ari Shafir.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it.
I think it's just called Jew.
Yeah, I think maybe it's just called Jew. But basically, he talks about his whole childhood growing up as a really hyper-religious Jewish guy. Talks a lot about Judaism, talks a lot about Catholicism and Christianity, talks a lot about himself. It's super funny.
I've heard that you've told me that, and then I have also heard that like there's a lot of buzz like this is the hot shit.
It's super funny. Like Ari Shafir is great. And then there's one by a dude named Phil Wang called Philly Wang Wang because he couldn't think of a name.
Yeah.
And he's like a Chinese British guy.
Okay.
And he's really funny. And I really like Phil Wang. I just thought his shit was really great. So I want people to check that out. And then the last one is kind of a montage one. It's called Bill Burr Presents Friends Who Kill. It's on Netflix. So it's Philly Wang Wang.
Yeah. Lisa was watching that the other day. I caught a little bit of that one.
And he brings out a bunch of his different friends, and they all do little sets. And then sometimes he does some banter with them back and forth. And of course, Bill Burr is just a murderer. Like he's so funny. He's one of my favorites.
Wait, so maybe this is not the one at Red Rocks. This is something else.
No, it's newer than that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Bill Burr Presents Friends Who Kill on Netflix. Very good. I highly enjoyed that. And so I recommend checking out these stand-up specials because, you know, it's just a one-off. There's no commitment like a series or something. It's not as long as a movie. It's just you get some good laughs. And, you know, I always think it's a good thing to do every now and then, get some good belly laughs.
Okay.
So what about you? What are you into right now?
All right. So I watched the first episode of an anime series called Chainsaw Man.
Oh, that's got a lot of buzz too.
Yeah.
All the kids loving that.
And so it's an anime from Studio Mappa. It's based on the manga by Tatsuki Fujimoto. It's streaming on Hulu and Crunchyroll in the US. I'm a pretty casual anime fan, but this has been on my radar. First, the manga, because lots of artists that I follow are super into it. And it's the visuals of this guy with his chainsaw head are just gonzo. Like it's really cool and weird looking. And so like we see Chainsaw Man, you're like, what the hell is this? Like it just instantly, like, you're like, what is Chainsaw Man? So it's had this buzz around it. And then the anime series dropped, you know, onto streaming in the States last month in October. And I finally got around to watching the first episode, and it was just one of the tightest, best paced, best plotted origin story TV show first episodes, like an origin story that I've seen in forever. Like it was just like a perfect 22-minute introduction to the Chainsaw Man, like what his motivation is, how he becomes the Chainsaw Man, what the status quo of the series is. The first episode just works as a good, satisfying arc, but it also sets up what's up, because it's a shonen manga. So it's going to run for hundreds of episodes. Because that's what they do. They just milk an idea forever. You can tell it has legs to be a long-running series. So basically the idea, the Chainsaw Man is this guy, Denji. He's an impoverished young man. He's deep in debt with the Yakuza, and he basically kills devils for them to work off his debt, and they nickel and dime him. So basically he's going to be in debt forever.
Sure.
And he has a little dog-like devil called Pochita that's like a chainsaw dog combo that he uses for fighting devils. And Pochita ends up granting him the ability to transform his parts of his body into chainsaws. And it's in the same tradition of Go and the Guy's Devil Man. You know, young man bonds with the devil so he can fight devils. Okay. But it's it's not retro. It's not a retread of Devilman. It's a repurposing of the archetype to tell a contemporary story.
Okay, I mean that's really anime, is to do things in a similar way, but in a new idea.
Yeah, like I'm going to take this trope and tell these kind of stories with it.
Yeah.
And I just really liked it. I was like, this is good, tight storytelling. Like the amount of story they get into 22 minutes, I was just like, that's how you do it.
All right, I'll have to check that out. I mean, Steven Spielberg should check that out.
He should watch. He's like, oh, wow, you can tell a story pretty quick.
Wow, pretty cool.
He knows. He used to do TV. He knows how to do it. He's just
chooses not to.
It's just no one tells him what to do anymore. He's earned that kind of power to where he's like, you know what? Let's just flab this scene out.
Yeah.
Just undo your belt and let the scene hang all over. Want to give him the call to action?
All right. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcatcher, as well as YouTube, Spotify, and Audible. Don't forget to leave us a review. 5-star review costs you nothing, but means everything to us.
New episodes of Nick and Dave Deep Dive the Metaverse drop the 1st and 15th of every month, and you can find us on all social media platforms across the Metaverse at Deep Dive the Meta. We are on Instagram, which I still like. We're on Twitter, which Dave still likes, and stubbornly just hanging on to Pinterest, even though no one looks at it.
We should check out.
We should make a Mastodon.
Mastodon.
Yeah, it's a good name if nothing else.
Yeah. Well, I guess this is really goodbye.
Don't say goodbye. Say good journey.